in the coming months will be a litmus test for them. Councillor McMonigal says in that context, agreement between the HSE and unions to move to a 7-day working week is very positive, but he says it will require substantial investment to make it work.
Now we will see where the HSE and where the government is coming from, and are they truly interested in providing the resources that we need. We have theatres sitting here idle in evening times and weekends. We have long lists of people awaiting surgery. We're farming out those procedures to private companies. It's over 9 million in the LUH alone over this last couple of years could be invested in LUH, and we could get better outcomes for the people of Donegal who don't have to travel any further.
The Dáil's been told that the quashing of approval for the A5 improvement plans in the Belfast High Court this week is a blow, but the government is hopeful the issues raised in the ruling will be addressed speedily. In the Dáil last night, Deputy Pat the Cope Gallagher called for early North-South ministerial discussions in a bid to find a way forward. Responding, Junior Minister Jerry Buttimer assured the Dáil that all monies allocated by the Irish government to the project, both North and South, are still in play.
While the timeline for delivery of the A5 project is still uncertain, in particular after this judgment, provision of the 25 million sterling made by the Department of Transport in 2025 for the funding scheme, should this be required, remains. Furthermore, as part of the government funding commitment for the Shared Island project, as Deputy Pat the Cope said, 600 million was committed to the progression of the A5 project in February 2024, and government is still committed to that. Transport Infrastructure Ireland continues to progress related schemes such as the N2 Clontarf to the border and the Donegal 10T projects.
The amount of people diagnosed with dementia is expected to reach close to 150,000 in the next 25 years. That's according to the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland. It's making its pre-budget submission to the government today. The society says an estimated 2,451 people are living with dementia in Donegal. There are approximately 64,000 people affected across the country at present. Chief Executive Andy Heffernan wants the government to build on progress which has been made to date.
Given the demographics in Ireland, we're probably looking at anywhere up to 150,000 by 2050. We've had a national strategy for dementia for some 10 years now, and within that there's been some really, really good initiatives by the government, but it's all about maintaining momentum now. We're looking for somewhere in the region of 9 million for 2026 to maintain that momentum and build on the work of the past.
And the weather forecast, mostly cloudy with patchy light rain or drizzle rain developing late this afternoon. Top temperatures 15 to 17 degrees Celsius in a light to moderate southerly wind. And that's Highland Radio News for now. You can check all the day's news on our website, highlandradio.com. We're back again with news at 10 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, good morning.
Warning, the following installation guide is dangerously simple. Step 1. Remove your 3 5G home broadband router from the box. Step 2. Plug it in. Step 3? There is no step 3. Probably didn't need this long of an ad. Not sure what else to... why not check out 3's 5G home broadband for yourself? Visit your local 3 store or 3.ie. 3. For a better connected life. Self-installation plans only. Subject to 5G coverage. Minimum term and direct debit. See 3.ie.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. It is just about to turn 4 minutes past 9 on this Wednesday, the 25th of June, 2025. How are you all keeping? I do hope you're very well indeed, and hopefully your day will improve over the next 3 hours as you tune in to us here on the 9 till Noon Show. We've got that usual mix of the very latest analysis of the news. We've got your views, of course, and the views of others, and features where we chat to people in the community, platform their achievements, their aims, their goals, etc. All the usual stuff. Chris is in with business news as well in the last hour, and so much more besides. Right, the lines are open now. If you want to WhatsApp and text, I had a few DMs on Facebook last night. People were saying they were having issues getting tickets for Saturday's game through Ticketmaster. I don't know if that was one person or if it's a uniform issue, but anything like that you want to talk about, 086 60 20 5000. Give us a call too if you prefer, an 07491 25000. And if you want to email, it's comments@highlandradio.com. And of course, if you're listening to the podcast on our website live from 12:30, you can email whenever you're listening and we can pick up your email and carry it into the next show. Or if you're listening to the repeat overnight, the same sort of situation applies. Right, let's have a look at the papers this morning. The Finn Valley Voice is out, and Irish-grown wool, once a hallmark of Ireland's rich craft heritage, has faced economic challenges over recent years, often leaving farmers at a loss. recognising the need to revitalise the industry. Stakeholders across Ireland are collaborating on initiatives to create added value and re-establish the global reputation of Irish wool. It's an extensive article in relation to that. Definitely worth a read if you're interested. On to the Irish Times now, and new figures show domestic violence reports at highest level in 50 years. Women's Aid received the highest number of disclosures of domestic violence and abuse in its 50-year history last year. More than 41,000 women reported abuse by their partner or ex-partner. 41,000 women. That's more than will be travelling to Croke Park from Donegal on Saturday. It's well more than that, maybe twice as many. And that's the amount of women last year that reported abuse by their partner or ex-partner. The 2024 figure for disclosures, up 17% on 2023, included reports of assaults with weapons, constant surveillance, relentless put-downs and humiliations, taking and sharing of intimate images online, complete control over all family finances, sexual assault, rape and being threatened with theirs or their children's lives. 5 women, the report notes, died in violent circumstances in 2024, and that's what happens if this behaviour goes unchecked. It can happen. The number and nature of the abuse disclosures was utterly appalling, but just the tip of the iceberg, said Women's Aid Chief Executive Sarah Benson. Fear, stigma, and the debilitating impact of the abuse itself, but also persistent social attitudes to domestic violence prevent victims from coming forward. Much work needed to be done to break the silence, to encourage those in need to get the support they deserve, she said. So, I mean, I'd never be one to try and encroach on anyone's private life, but is that those things I described, is that your life? And that could be whether you're a man or a woman, for that matter. Obviously, Women's Aid, their figures are going to focus on the situation facing women, but 41,000 reported abuse. So how many are living with that abuse? Are you living with that abuse? Maybe you want to message us confidentially, of course. Why would you? Why do you? What are you waiting for? And that's not to judge you in any way. Negatively at all. It's actually just to understand the realities of maybe living in an abusive relationship, but feeling that you can't report it or you can't sort of advocate for yourself in that regard. And it can be for lots of real reasons. If you want to share, and I understand it's incredibly sensitive, you can text us on 086 60 25,000, or you can message me privately on Facebook too if you wish. I just would like to get a better understanding as to why people feel that they can't come forward and what we can do as a society to try and sort of break that down. The thought of people living their lives like that is very distressing. The Irish Daily Mail, after Trump bust up, now Netanyahu is claiming war victory. Did you hear Donald Trump yesterday morning? He didn't hold back, and he used quite a strong expletive, the F1 in fact. But I'll read on here. Benjamin Netanyahu last night claimed a historic victory for Israel over Iran, despite a furious bust-up with Donald Trump. The Israeli Prime Minister said the outcome would stand for generations and praised the US President. Now, US intelligence themselves have said that this attack and what Israel has been doing and what the United States has been doing has set Iran back a couple of months in terms of nuclear weapon development. That is what America's own intelligence is saying. So I don't think it's quite the victory Netanyahu is claiming it was. But his live address came after he suffered humiliating public and private dressing downs from the US Commander-in-Chief. A furious President Trump launched a foul-mouthed rant yesterday morning after Israel breached the terms of a ceasefire. That's not strictly true at all. What happened is that, that's not what happened at all. An Iranian missile was launched and Israel threatened to respond. Both Iran and Israel dropped bombs in a 6-hour period before the ceasefire came into effect. But as far as I'm aware, Israel didn't breach the ceasefire. And that's not to defend them in any way, shape or form. It's just accurate reporting. But I'm open to correction. Mr. Netanyahu was forced to call off planned Israeli airstrikes on the heart of Tehran following his intervention. Last night, the Israeli leader, who could face increased domestic and international pressure to end the conflict in Gaza, dismissed and I'll turn to page 6, the spat. Okay. On to the Irish Independent this morning. And Gardaí believe the victim of a fatal hit-and-run incident in North Dublin was intentionally driven over as he stood on a footpath. Mircea Rostas, who was aged in his 30s, was hit by a car on Wellway Street, Balbriggan, at around 9 p.m. on Monday. He was treated at the scene, but died a short time later. The driver of the BMW involved fled. A man in his 40s who was known to the victim has been arrested and is being held at a Garda station in North Dublin. Officers are investigating if the hit and run is linked to a dispute in the area that has involved a number of other incidences in recent weeks. I think they've got a lot of intelligence in that regard, so I'd expect that investigation to move really quite quickly. The Sun this morning, victims of the Omagh bomb intend to use a public inquiry to heap shame on the Irish government for its failings over the atrocity, a barrister has said. The inquiry also heard victims are sick and tired of platitudes, false assurances and broken promises from Dublin over the bombing. The Real IRA bomb in the County Tyrone town in August 1988 killed 29 people, amongst them a woman who was pregnant with twins. The Omagh bombing inquiry, chaired by Alan Turnbull, yesterday heard statements from the legal representatives of the bereaved families. Barrister Alan Kane, KC, told the inquiry, "Our clients are of the clear belief that whatever aspect of preventability may lie at the door of the UK state authorities, blame to a greater or lesser extent rests with the state authorities in the Republic of Ireland." So it could be an uncomfortable hearing for the Irish government. For all of us, really, I suppose, historically, you could argue. They're worrying about Dublin at the moment, about how to sort of get it back to where it was. It's a bit of a kip now, it has to be said. And that's been proven, by the way, by IBAL's independent sort of assessment of the state of Dublin. But if you go down there yourself, it stinks and it's dirty and it needs a good clean. But also they're looking to, revitalise Dublin. But a tourism levy is under consideration for Dublin, but it's highly unlikely and unrealistic it'll be introduced in the next year, the government has said. This is despite Taoiseach Simon Harris saying 2 months ago that he would be nervous about the imposition of such a tax. However, Taoiseach Micheál Martin stated that it may be needed to fund some of the recommendations contained in a 10-year roadmap to revitalise the capital. A special purpose vehicle will be established by and operated under the auspices of Dublin City Council to drive delivery. This will include the redevelopment of the GPO as an ambitious and historic flagship project with cultural, retail and office components. The government also agreed to further consider wider measures which could support the regeneration of Dublin and other cities. So, I mean, I'd be concerned with a tourism tax because unless it's if you stayed in Dublin, hey, the more people land in Dublin and travel up here, the better. Dublin's got bigger problems. It's about how the city feels. It's about the sense that, how do I phrase this? That you get a sense that you're in Dublin. Sometimes it can feel a little bit different because it's so modern now. And even though RTE have been advertising publicly for new staff, new presenting staff, and even in their own press releases, they referenced a vacancy on Liveline. It feels that it's a fait accompli, and it's pretty obvious, really, because RTE has sensationally axed, as they say, Katie Hannon's Monday night current affairs show, days before Joe Duffy is set to step down from Liveline. Now, I've never watched that show on a Monday night. Some of the comments I've seen on social media aren't very favourable to it, but apparently it being, according to the paper, acts is a shock. So it appears the station is embarking on a scheduling reshuffle, as RTE have confirmed they've axed Ms. Hannon's Monday night programme after 3 years on air. On Friday, Mr. Duffy retires from RTE after 37 years, of which 27 was spent hosting Liveline. Ms. Hannon has jumped in to present Liveline while Mr. Duffy took annual leave, and with no news of who will take over the Radio 1 show, speculation is rife that Katie could be a contender. Yeah, there you go. I'd be incredibly surprised if it was anybody else, to be honest with you. Right, good morning, Dolores, Helen, Annie, Kathy, Mike. Great to have you on board watching the show. Hundreds of you already on board across the various social media platforms. And you can watch the show if it suits you too. If you're at home or working at home, we're on your smart TV, your Fire Stick, on the YouTube app, Highland Radio Ireland. We're on the X platform at Highland Radio and across Facebook. It's not hard to find us. So you can watch the show as well, if it suits you. All right, we'll be back with more in just a couple of moments.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Midsummer markdowns have launched at McElhinney's department store with up to 25% off your favourite designer brands in fashion, accessories, home and much more. Discover unmissable offers online at mcilhenneys.com or visit us in store and save big this summer with McElhinney's.
It's extremely big. It's extremely scary. And it's extremely good fun. Extreme Fun Fair, the most extreme fun fair to ever visit Letterkenny. From June the 28th to July the 13th at the Kiltoy Roundabout. See Facebook, Instagram or book now at extremefunfair.ie.
If you're organising an event, you might be surprised by everything BizPrint offer, from photo props, backdrops, banners to tablecloths, pens, keyrings and mugs. Everything to make your event a big success. Call BizPrint on 9177955 or see bizprint.ie.
Make real summer savings at Super Value. Like Super Value Signature Taste Fresh Irish Hampshire Pork Loin, now half price. Fresh fruit and veg like lemon and lime net, 3-piece, 79 cents each. Scan your Real Rewards card or app and get Coca Noodles 10-pack for €5. Also, Pampers and very selected ranges, 3 for €30. Make real summer savings at Super Value.
It's the 50% off mega summer sale at Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Up to 50% off all tiles, wood flooring, outdoor porcelain tiles, cladding and bathware. Everything in store has been slashed in price. The Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring 50% off mega summer sale. Stores nationwide. Sale now on.
It's Dining and Garden Week at Easy Living Furniture. Enjoy massive savings both in-store and online with hundreds of special offers in our dining department. Plus, get free delivery on all dining orders over £499. Looking to upgrade your outdoor space? We're also offering free delivery on all garden furniture orders. Perfect for creating the alfresco dining experience that you've always dreamed of. Shop now at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, Derry, Londonderry.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
Okay, the time now 17 minutes past 9. So we heard following questions from Pat the Cope Gallagher in the Dáil yesterday that the government remains committed to its financial funding of the A5 and also optimistic that the Stormont government will do what it needs to do to, I suppose... address the concerns and the findings raised in a Belfast court there this week. Councillor Paul Canning was on the show with us yesterday. He's a Fianna Fáil councillor, of course, but also chair of the A5N2 committee, and he joins us on the show as committed. Good morning, Paul. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Greg, and good morning to your listeners.
As it happened, you had a meeting scheduled with Sinn Féin Minister Liz Kimmins. She's the Minister for Infrastructure. And that meeting went ahead yesterday evening. So what did she say to you about this ruling and what she plans or can do to address the concerns raised?
Yeah, listen, as you've said, we met with the minister around 2:00 yesterday evening. There was about a dozen of us from the 5 councils, as I've previously said. We had questions already written out, but given the circumstances, we had to change and revise those questions. But in fairness to Minister Kimmins, she gave us ample time and she spoke really openly with us. But there's always a but. She used the language that she hadn't been fully informed by her team as to the full extent of the court's decision. But in fairness to her, she has committed to working with her committee as a platform for collaboration and support going into the future. And she plans to sort of take part in a few of our meetings. We would have meetings fairly regular. She is also committed to coming back to us with her plan on how to overcome the setback that we received.
Did anyone ask her why the A5 project, the most significant infrastructural project in Northern Ireland, wasn't included in the Climate Action Plan?
Yeah, well, you see, I would say, in relation to we received the judgment yesterday evening as well from the courts, and on analysing the Climate Change Act in 2022, that act has come back to haunt the Assembly in achieving their net zero greenhouse gas emissions and the target at 2050, along with other targets. So these targets will have a serious implication on the A5, but it's also going to have an implication on other projects.
And I get that, Paul, but just in relation to that, right? I mean, presumably the Climate Change Act might be an issue, say, for instance, in 2050, if we're all driving petrol and diesel cars and, we continue to be stuck in bottlenecks on the current road. Surely it must understand that the likelihood is that we'll have to have cars, but they're most likely to be, zero emission or close to it. We won't have, cars sitting for hours on end in the bottlenecks on the current road infrastructure. I mean, does it balance out, where we're at now in terms of emissions in travelling this route versus where we might be in 2050, or am I being naive?
No, you're not being naive. But the situation in relation to what they signed up to in 2022, and they signed up to, and it's a legal duty on all the departments. They were to publish targets for cutting the greenhouse gas emissions in each of their area, and they had a responsibility as to how they were actually going to reach those targets. So it wasn't just about the infrastructure department, but the problem that the Assembly have, that the DUP walked out in protest in 2022 to 2024 against the whole in relation to the whole Brexit deal. So it was difficult. It's difficult for the judge to put faith in any commitment by the Assembly to reach their target because they had very little action done to date. And in his judgment, he sort of emphasised, he didn't go that far into it, but he made comment towards that. But he ruled out that the Department of Infrastructure was in breach of the Section 52. He called it that it failed to produce the evidence. It wasn't what they were targeting, but the evidence to show that the A5 would be consistent with the climate targets.
The judge himself says, though, that he believes that these issues can be overcome, and he urged Stormont to work as quickly as possible to do that, to deliver this important piece of infrastructure. Does that give you any hope if the judge who...
Yeah, well, he was well aware of the death toll of the 57 people, and he was well aware of the amount of people that were seriously injured in it. And he did state that his ruling doesn't prevent the projects like the A5, but he did state that it needs to have the proper planning and the coordination between all departments to ensure that they achieve the 2050 targets. The problem I feel, and taken from it, that Minister Cummins and her team have a lot of work to do in certain areas in relation to the trade-offs, because given that there are areas that her party doesn't have control of, it's going to be a bumpy run for the minister, insofar as she's going to have to work with other parties to trade off against for her to get the A5, and they're going to have to drop projects going forward to get that. So it is going to be a very bumpy run for the minister. But we stated yesterday that we as a committee are fully behind her, and we're fully behind the progress of the A5 and trying to resolve.
Your party colleague Niall Blaney yesterday, Senator Niall Blaney, yesterday put the blame for all of this firmly at the feet of Sinn Féin. He said it was, pretty much entirely their fault, either by accident or design, and he didn't state which. Is that your reading of it? Would you agree with Senator Blaney in that regard, or would your opinion be somewhat different?
No, my opinion, my opinion is there's no point in us getting into the blame game. I think we as a committee need to work with the minister of the day, whoever that minister might be, and try and resolve the issues moving forward. And she has given a commitment to us, and we have also given a commitment to her, because I'm the chair and we have cross-party there, and she probably is using us as a platform, because I was somewhat surprised that she gave us the level of commitment that she gave us. But then whenever we actually went into the public gallery to view the minister's questions and answers, which was after that. And I could understand her because we were willing to work with her as a cross party. I could understand that because of the amount of point scoring that went on, and that it was embarrassing how, everybody was trying to blame. And listen, the minister's only in there from February, and she's still finding her feet.
I still
as
just
herself.
can't get. I still can't get my head around how, the minister's team or the team of civil servants could omit a massive road development from a climate action plan. I still haven't really figured out how that could happen, or how anyone could imagine that wouldn't be challenged.
Yeah, well, it was always like they already knew that it was always going to be challenged, but at that stage, it's whenever you're in a process and you're in an ongoing process. In order for you to make major changes like that, it's nearly like a planning application. You have to pull out the whole process. So they were probably of the opinion that, listen, we'll let it go and see where it goes. Because unfortunately, and I'm going back to, they didn't have a great track record from 2022
So,
when the Act came in.
If I were to paraphrase what you've been saying, and you can tell me if this is accurate or not, that Sinn Féin are in charge of roads, and if they to sort of get the A5 over the line, they're going to have to reduce emissions elsewhere, and it's other parties such as the DUP that might be in control of, say, farming or whatever, that will say no. Where the farmers are up to their ears, they can't do any more, and Sinn Féin will say, well, listen, we need this road. You're gonna have to work with us to reduce emissions in a different space. I'm only picking two examples here, and you believe that this could get caught up in sort of a battle between parties, and a battle between departments, and a battle between areas responsible for the majority of emissions.
Yeah, that would be my take on it. That's where Minister Cummins is going to have a lot of negotiations and a lot of trade-offs. Now, here at home in Donegal, we have an opportunity based on those findings to go through the document and make sure that we're ready and up to speed as we go forward in relation to the 10T, because there is items there that we'll have to look at and see where we're at in the same, because this, I would say, that ruling is actually going to be a benchmark for other projects going forward, and how it's going to be looked at, and that is going to be referenced, I would say, umpteen times by other objectors.
So someone might object to the 10T on the basis that it goes against Ireland's climate commitments.
Yeah, that is exactly. So we as a council, and in fairness to the officials, they have the document and they are going through it with a fine tooth comb as we speak. So in that aspect, we've got ahead of the game, but it's disappointing considering the amount of people that have been killed on our roads, and we do have to work. But I feel there's going to be a lot of political to and fro before this is over the line.
Yeah, I just think it's really regrettable that governments, wherever they are, haven't got provision for, very important projects of a national interest, projects that put people first. I understand we have to do what we can in terms of our environment, but, here we have the A5, people dying or being injured on it almost every single day, and yet we've got the Chinese building coal factories, drill baby drill in America, and here we have, and we've kind of done it ourselves. We've done it to ourselves, seemingly, that people didn't see this coming.
Yeah, I think the mistake has been made in the passing of the Climate Change Act in 2022, and then what followed after that didn't, because they had targets and they had plans to put in place, insofar as each department had to have a path going forward in relation to their greenhouse gas emissions. I think that's where that has fell down, that they lost those 2 years, and now they have to pick up the pieces again and try and play catch up to show that they are seriously, because what, as I said previous, that it was very optimistic that what the and aspirational what the Department of Infrastructure had put forward and their assumptions,
Okay, listen, Paul, thanks for your time. I do appreciate it. That's Councillor Paul Canning there, chair of the A5N2 committee. The Irish government last night committing to the A5, its funding of it, 600 million. And the N2 as well, the 10Ts, it got a particular mention, but that's one person's assessment, Councillor Paul Canning's. There are going to be others that have different assessments of it, of course, but he's chair of the A5N2 committee, so obviously his is not insignificant if that's his view, and he did meet with the minister yesterday. What do you think? The A5 is widely considered one of the most dangerous roads in Ireland, with over 50 deaths since 2006. Delays in the upgrade, prolonged safety concerns. They should have come before any climate or environmental concerns, believes a listener. How can Sinn Féin suggest that they're the best option for changing the Republic when they can't even get the A5 project right, and when they are, nowhere to be seen when they mess it up? Another, the A5 project has a long history of being stalled by successive legal challenges since its approval in 2007. These challenges have often centred on environmental and procedural grounds, including habitat assessment and flood modelling. So the ruling was no surprise indeed. But I mean, you prepare. I mean, if you don't prepare, you prepare to fail. And people must have said, right, there's no point us proceeding with this because there's going to be an environmental challenge. How do we meet that at the gap? And the same with the it's not even include a major, massive piece of infrastructure not included in the climate action plan. I mean, who thought? Anyway. Last for now, is the A5 being held up because of a small number of farmers or because of the government's own incompetence? Well, I would say it's a small number of landowners. Some might argue, it's not I'm saying it, that a small number of farmers or landowners are being able to exploit the government's own incompetence to avoid the A5 progressing. So I think you're 50-50 there.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
The countdown is on. Just a few months until Highland in the Sun hits Salou. Just picture it. This September, from the 14th to the 21st, you can enjoy 7 nights bed and breakfast plus dinner in the beautiful 4-star Sol Costa Dorada Hotel with airport transfers in Spain included. You will enjoy 7 nights of the music that you love, including Mick Flavin, Claudia Buckley, Johnny Brady, Dominic Kerwin and many, many more. Give yourself an end of summer treat by booking your getaway with Highland Radio and myself, David James. Contact Country Music Tours to book your place today on 074 9119 955. See ya in Salou.
Everyone in Ireland felt the impact of the pandemic, but each experience was different. Now, Ireland's independent COVID-19 evaluation wants to hear your story. Complete the survey to help us learn lessons and prepare for future events. Visit covid19evaluation.ie.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
Instead of lying on the beach all summer, Lucy's spending every weekend watching children's football matches. But while other parents are screaming, advice, Lucy's dreaming about the barbecue waiting for her at home, full of delicious burger goodness from Aldi. Butcher's Selection Irish lean beef burgers, topped with specially selected burger slaw, all served on a toasted brioche bun. Because parents need a post-match meal too. Good food, good mood from Aldi.
Here at Braden's House to Home Interiors, Moville and Bridgend, we stock recliner and fabric suites, dining tables and chairs, beds and mattresses, curtains and rugs, and don't forget our large flooring department stocking carpet, vinyl and laminate flooring. We can't be beaten on price or quality and give a weekly delivery service to Donegal, Derry and Strabane not to be matched. So call in today to Braden's House to Home Interiors, Moville or Bridgend for all your home furnishing needs.
So yesterday on the show, we discussed a circular that's been issued by the Department of Education, Circular 0039-2025. We were discussing it on the show yesterday, just after 11 o'clock, and how it might affect St. Bernadette's special school here in County Donegal. So if you didn't hear that part of the show, listen back to the last hour of the podcast yesterday. But what it's all about, the Department of Education proposed this circular, and it's a policy change that parents and teachers feel could significantly reduce access to special schools for children with mild to moderate general learning disabilities. The circular favours placement in mainstream schools with special classes for these children, even when those settings are deemed not appropriate by the likes of parents and others. The circular promotes a one-size-fits-all approach under the banner of inclusion, but for many children with MGLD, it can result in emotional and sensory overload, in overstimulating classrooms, feeling of confusion, isolation or embarrassment during large group activities, etc. And we heard yesterday, we know potentially what the problems are here, because we spoke to parents yesterday whose children were previously in mainstream schools and they had moderate general learning disabilities, and they were struggling and they fell behind and they weren't happy and they weren't achieving their best results, and they moved to the likes of a St. Bernard's special school and began to do really, really well. Now, what might happen is that new students who would be able to access St. Bernadette Special School, who are MGLD, would end up in mainstream schools, and then children with additional needs, more complex needs, would maybe be directed towards St. Bernadette's Special School, and it's geared up to deal with children with moderate general learning disabilities, and it's unclear as to what might happen into the future in them dealing sort of with children with more complex needs, if I could put it like that. I've got loads of comments from you in relation to it. I'll get to those in a moment, but I want to get the views of BB McGlynn, who joins us now. BB, good morning to you. Thanks for the chat. I appreciate it.
No bother. How are you?
I'm doing good, BB. It's important we hear from you, because your son goes to St. Bernadette School.
Well, I'll just give you a sort of short synopsis of Killian. So Killian is now 16 years old, and he's only been to St. Bernadette. So when Killian was a baby, when he was 4 months old, he developed a rare type of epilepsy. Whatever development he had at that age, he regressed, and basically, he went from being a very bright, alert baby to not being able to even hold his head stable by himself. So he was delayed. He's always been making progress since that, but it's he didn't sit on it until he was over 1. He didn't walk till he was 2.5. He talks non-stop now, but his clarity of speech, we understand everything, but for the school and for people who don't know him, you might have to listen really carefully. And Killian will say yes to everything. So if you ask him, did you do this? Yep. He'll say yes. But we went through the road of early intervention. So when he was say 6 months old, we got assessed, and they said that he didn't meet the criteria because he had to have, you needed physio, OT, speech and language and all of that, but he didn't require all of that. And then a few months later, they reassessed, and the gap had sort of widened, and so they said that, he definitely does need early intervention, and they were brilliant, and we were there with them until he was 6. I know they've changed it now to the CDNT, but anyway, I'm rambling now. But
no, tell your story. It's fine.
Yes. So he went to Ballajarg Preschool, which is up Ballajarg, is just up past yourselves there, and he went there for 2 years, and it's for sort of mild to moderate sort of disability. So we were a bit reluctant because you want your child to go to mainstream because his 2 brothers went there, and it's sort of like an acceptance of okay, well he will need more help. Like when we used to go to Crumlin, the neurologist there, he made a good point once. He said that Killian was a bit, when he was maybe about 5 or 6, he said he's hard to sort of pinpoint exactly, because in one way he's significantly delayed, and in another way he's beyond what he should be. So Killian's always been a bit of a mishmash of he understands everything that you say. His understanding is 100%. Trying to get the clarity, and speak and make himself, his confidence wouldn't be that great. But St. Bernadette now has been, like I say, it's the best school in Ireland because they individually they sort of teach each child to their own ability. They one-to-one, they do life skills, they have days out. He's got better social life than we do. It would be, I'm just thinking if we had to go the road that we've been on, which was incredibly hard because Killian got diagnosed then with all of the, they do all your genetic metabolic tests. So he was diagnosed then with a rare genetic mutation, a P10 mutation, which is a tumor suppressor that we all have. His is faulty, so he has to have certain scans for certain cancers. Like, it doesn't mean you're going to get cancer, but he's had a total thyroidectomy done last year. Yeah, you just get thyroid scans.
How would Killian, do you think, compared to where he's at now, BB, if he had been assessed and they said, right, special classroom in a mainstream school? I mean, I'm asking you to look into a crystal ball, but you're mom, so you're going to know better than anyone. I mean, obviously, he wouldn't be where he's at now with your view, with the best of intentions of those that might be working with him. You know your child best. How do you think he would have fared in a mainstream environment, up until now?
No, he wouldn't, because he's still not great at school. Like, the teachers kind of have to prompt him for help. He's got to be sort of laminated thing. Now, if he needs help, we have, actually it's really good. So he has a notebook. Teacher writes in whatever she wants to tell you, and then Killian will go, tell this whatever I want to, because there's one teacher who likes to wash cars at school and gets the kids to wash the cars, and Killian's mad to get washing cars, but he won't ask himself. So, Mommy, here's the book, right? So I want to wash cars. I want to do this. So, he's very strong-minded and he knows what he wants. But
it's how he articulates it.
Mainstream, he wouldn't have coped. Definitely not.
So advocating for his wishes, even maybe meeting his needs, he would struggle in those areas. Also, too, you also said that mainstream schools wouldn't work for the likes of Killian. The numbers are too big, and then you referenced about waiting for tests and diagnoses. Could you just explain that a little bit to me, please?
Okay, so because Killian went down the route of early intervention, now that's been taken away, so they have the CDNT. When he was with early intervention, our main focus was always speech and language, because communication is obviously a big deal. So we always said that was number one. The rest, he had low tone, he needed physio, needed OT, all of that. We got all of that, but waiting list for speech therapy. He hasn't really had a lot of speech therapy. I'd be in contact with some of them, and they give you things to do, and they come to the school and they try, but there's too many children. And as well, if you're waiting on a place, in a mainstream school, say your child's autistic. Killian is also autistic. He got diagnosed 2 years ago. It was kind of part of his condition overlaps with like learning disability, autism, all of that. So we kind of knew he had, because he's got his sort of ways or whatever. But he's so settled now, and he's not restricted in that. When he was smaller, one time we said, right, we're going to go to the park. And we headed off and we went to Ard's Park. When we got there, it wasn't the park Killian had pictured. So all hell broke loose, and we were there for a few hours, and he just screamed and cried the whole time. Now, we've been through all sorts of ways of coping and getting him to where he is now, and the school has been a great support. I could not imagine even without St. Bernadette's. I don't think Killian, definitely with all the help that I have given him and the family, there's no way he would be where he is now.
And how was he referred to or directed towards St. Bernadette's? Like, did someone mention it to you and you pursued it? Was it some of the people that were working with his development that said St. Bernadette's might be a good fit for him?
No. So what happened with Killian was when we were with early intervention, so then the preschool came up, so Balladary Preschool. That was talked about, so we went there. We were reluctant because we were like probably maybe in denial that he needs all his help, but Then we went there, and he thrived there. He loved it. And then from that, I suppose we went and talked to a few different schools, and yeah, his needs were too much for what the school could offer him, because he had a diagnosis of like a mild to moderate learning disability. I think at that time you weren't guaranteed an SNA in a mainstream school, so for him to go to mainstream without a support and the numbers and like crowds and not, it really wouldn't have, like the first time we went out as a family we went for tea, so we went to a sandwich co, and literally as soon as I was like, right boys, eat up, because when he's done, we're done, because as soon as he was finished eating, we had to go, because the next thing, it was like a high pitched scream that he used to do when because he couldn't communicate. He would point and
frustrated. He was frustrated, wasn't he? I mean, he had something. He had the way things were going to play out. It wasn't happening like that, and he can't sort of articulate it. Yeah. Okay. I mean, Bibi, the thing is, unfortunately, if things go the way the Department of Education seems to be planning, an option like the options that you had for Killian wouldn't be there for, I mean, as we heard from John Harron yesterday, the principal, this doesn't affect students that are currently enrolled there, but certainly if these changes are implemented, another child like Killian won't get the opportunities to be the best version of himself that he's had.
And that's going to have like a huge knock-on effect, because you're going to have children, right, if they haven't got, like, they don't meet the criteria, or they're waiting for assessment and then they go to mainstream, they're going to regress big time, because they're not getting the support that they need. And it's just, when Killian used to come home from school, he's so good at school, but they mask everything, they hold it all in, and then they come home and if there's something annoyed them, they'll explode. Then it's like you get this sort of the aftermath of it. So if you were putting your child into like a really busy, noisy school, it's not.
I think it's just
I think it's very unfair.
I think it's really important for children, for their parents and guardians, and also those children as they become adults, where maybe we're not around to look after them, is that we make sure people are as independent and confident and communicative as possible, because there's a big debate going on in Britain at the moment about the welfare bill over there, and an awful lot of those reliant on welfare are people with additional needs, and now they're looking to cut the welfare bill and hit those people. We don't want to find ourselves in that situation. We want to make sure that all of our citizens are as independent and as well developed or as best they can now, because it's in the best interest of them, but also as them as adults. Yeah, exactly. And it's also, it's tough being a parent. It's tough being a parent when a child doesn't have any additional needs or what have you, because you want the best for them and you want them to be as set up as possibly they can be. So I get that, baby. And listen, he's got a great advocate in you. I just hope that he's not.
And he loves music. He's a
What's he into?
He's a rock. Oh, AC/DC.
Well, I was getting on really well with him until you started mentioning that.
Metallica, AC/DC. He's all into his rock. His brother's into music, so he copies, he emulates everything that he sees. So he wants to be the same.
Does he try any instruments, Bibi? Does he have a good aptitude for that?
Well, my husband taught our middle son guitar, and the middle boy's really, really good at guitar. So then we thought, well, we'll maybe teach Killian as well. So we got the guitar, and he comes down, he'll start like hammering the acoustic, because there's loads of guitars here, but he kind of has the rhythm of, he thinks he's playing AC/DC, so you can sort of hear the dun-dun, that sort of a thing, and then he accidentally played like a chord that went doo-doo, and it sounds like Nirvana, and that he's got a really good memory, so if he does something once, he'll remember, and he, like at home, he does loads of housework. If he sees something that's in the kitchen that shouldn't be there, it goes back to where it's supposed to be.
Now I'm starting to love him again.
yeah. So he is a great man at hoovering, and he's like kind of So no. I just think it would be would be awful if, I'm just thinking for other people, if they were in the situation that we were in and they had to go through all of this, and to think that you're going to be put somewhere where your child's obviously it's not going to work.
No,
you want to try everything for the best.
Of course, and you'd find yourself then in like a fight for what's right for your child, whilst you're also trying to deal with everything else. And this is just a biggie, because this is national. And I said to John and our guests yesterday that this is going to require a lot of, if you're opposed to this, a lot of advocating with TDs, not just opposition TDs but government TDs, to at least defer this so we can talk it through a bit more, because it does feel a little bit rushed. BB, listen, love to all. Thanks so much for helping us understand it in such good detail. It's really appreciated.
Oh, okay. Take care.
All
Bye,
right,
Greg.
bye. Take care. That's BB McGlynn there, mum to Killian.
Transform your outdoor space with Sprat Fireplaces. From wood-fired and gas pizza ovens to designer fire pits and barbecues, Sprats offer premium outdoor cooking and heating solutions. Perfect for entertaining, alfresco dining or relaxing fireside. Call 9124144 or visit spratfireplaces.ie to start creating your dream outdoor living space.
This summer, the Big Top is calling. Summer Sessions Letterkenny presents The Human League, live on August the 21st for one unmissable night. Plus special guests including Nick Kershaw and The Undertones. And it's your last chance to grab the final tickets at summer-sessions.ie. Also rocking the Summer Sessions stage, the Saw Doctors with special guests. That's The Human League, August the 21st in Letterkenny, under the Big Top. Follow Summer Sessions Letterkenny on social media for all the latest updates.
Ready for sunshine? Fly EasyJet from Belfast International Airport to a range of holiday destinations including Tenerife, Amsterdam, the Algarve, Barcelona and many more, which you can find in Belfast International Airport's summer schedule. Don't miss out, book today with EasyJet. Find your destination inspiration.
At Restex Beds, we are celebrating 50 incredible years in business. And we are introducing our brand new Glenveigh mattress, comfort that's as legendary as our half-century legacy. Experience 50 years of bedding excellence at Restex Beds, Mountaintop Letterkenny. Restex Beds, leave the rest to us.
Since I switched to Hidden Hearing, I can hear it all.
You could save up to €3,000 off invisible hearing aids. Save when you switch to us, upgrade, or save on your very first hearing aids. Pre-phone 1-800-370-000. Switch and save at hiddenhearing.ie. You should go to the hearing experts. T's and C's apply.
Ready for a summer of play? A summer-filled series of family feel-good get-togethers in the historic houses and gorgeous gardens of the National Trust. Enter a medieval masterpiece at Castle Ward. Choose your own adventure at majestic Mount Stewart. Make a beeline for Florence Court's 20th anniversary honey show. Enjoy lazy lawn games at Llewellyn Garden. Take a beautiful boat trip on Blackwater River at the Argery. Or tee off at the Giant's Causeway. Ready for a summer of play? Search National Trust NI.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenney's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
So today, mostly cloudy with patchy light rain, drizzle and mist at first, though the rain will move into the west later this afternoon. Highest temperatures of 15 to 18 degrees and a light to moderate southerly wind. Now, a listener says, St. Bernadette School's invaluable to us and our daughter Kayla. She has a chromosome abnormality. She's coming 18, but like a 5-year-old. She was in mainstream schools and had an SNA. She had clinical depression aged 9. CAMS recommended that she change schools or medication. We sent her to St. Bernadette's. She's made friends. The school's amazing. She loves it. Little Angels was not suitable as they are for complex needs, moderate to severe. It wasn't a good fit for our daughter. They are very socially independent. With one SNA, it's all one-on-one in Little Angels. This is a disgrace just to save money. This is the overall circular. Special classes are not for everyone. Children can feel segregated. It is her last year and we wish there was somewhere else for her to go. People from Inishowen and Inverglenties attend St. Bernadette Special School. They cover all Donegal. The kids learn how to be streetwise together. It breaks my heart that other parents might not have this facility. The idea, says another, of removing children with a mild learning disability from being able to access St. Bernadette Special Education School and being forced into mainstream schools will not work due to the significant lack of resources in the mainstream schools. Well, part of the circular is that mainstream schools say what resources they need, and I'm not contradicting you, but I think we all know that they could end up struggling for those resources, couldn't they? This listener says, my daughter is just finishing her second year junior Cert 2 in St. Bernadette's and has really thrived in her 2 years in the school. Her educational journey has really thrived with the support and hard work of the amazing team in St. Bernadette's, led by Master John Harron. There are just not enough resources in mainstream schools, simple as that. That comes in from Thomas. Thomas, thanks so much for your personal insight there. It's greatly appreciated. Right, all children should be in mainstream schools. Children are developing every day. My brother is a paediatrician and wouldn't diagnose a child until age 12 or 14. Development issues are nil. I don't think teachers should be able to diagnose students. Why are there so many new diagnoses? Children are overdiagnosed. Children pick up things all the time and then change. Habits are picked up in mainstream schools. Children often grow out of these. Now, I think I know where you're coming from, and I'm not an expert in this regard, but there is a potential. There is a potential that that personality idiosyncrasies or slightly delayed developments are being picked up as something else, whereby it's not, the child's too young, right? So it's not really clear whether, say, for instance, they have autism, or it might be something that they will sort of develop through in a year or two. The children we're talking about here, they have been diagnosed. It's very clear what the situation is, and it's very clear that they would benefit in this school environment. So whilst I would say that we certainly maybe need to look at why there are so many new diagnoses, that doesn't mean there aren't an awful lot of children that genuinely need additional help, if that makes sense. We just have to make sure that all our resources are being targeted at the children that actually do need them, certainly. All right, a very interesting first hour. I thought so. I hope you agree. And we've got lots more coming up, but we're going to take a break now for the news and the obituary notices, and then we'll be right back with more.
It's the 50% off mega summer sale at Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Up to 50% off all tiles, wood flooring, outdoor porcelain tiles, cladding and bathware. Everything in store has been slashed in price. The Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring 50% off mega summer sale. Stores nationwide. Sale now on.
It's Dining and Garden Week at Easy Living Furniture. Enjoy massive savings both in-store and online with hundreds of special offers in our dining department. Plus get free delivery on all dining orders over £499. Looking to upgrade your outdoor space? We're also offering free delivery on all garden furniture orders. Perfect for creating the alfresco dining experience that you've always dreamed of. Shop now at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, Derry, Londonderry.
Getting your first electric car is like meeting your partner's family for the first time. Nerves are normal. You were stressed about awkward silence with her dad. Now you chat for hours about sport. You worried her mum wouldn't like you. Now she likes you better than her own son. Likewise, once you experience how great an EV can be, you'll never look back, especially if it's a Skoda. Order your electric Enyaq or Elrock today.
Skoda.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clare Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721 396. Just finished your Leaving Cert and wondering what's next? Join us at the TCS Careers Evening, Wednesday 9th of July from 3 till 7 p.m. at the Tata Consultancy Services Global Delivery Centre, Letterkenny Business and Technology Park. Explore exciting career paths, meet the team, see our award-winning workplace. Your future starts here. Find out more at tcscareers.ie. That's tcscareers.ie.
Summer toys at Tinny's Toys. Everything for an outdoor summer. Swings, slides, trampolines, goalposts, rebounders, sand table, wheelbarrows. Of course, we also have our massive range of kids, pedal and electric toys. Need something for those rainy days? Well, we've that covered too, with the likes of Brooder Toys, Lego, Marvel Toys, books and more. Call into our store on the Leck Road, Letterkenny, or shop online at tinnystoys.com. Tinny's Toys, much more than just farm toys. Down, boy.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Lotto jackpot is an estimated €8.8 million. Play responsibly in store, in app, or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. The new chair of the HSE's Regional Health Forum says securing a surgical hub for Donegal will be a key target of his tenure, and he'll be using his place at the top table to push the case with the HSE's regional chief, Tony Canavan. Councillor Jerry McMonigal also says the need for more investment in Letterkenny University Hospital has been proven over and over again, and how the government and HSE respond to the united voices of doctors and political representatives will be a litmus test. Councillor McMonigal says in that context, agreement between the HSE and unions to move to a 7-day working week is very positive, but it will require substantial investment to make it work.
Now we will see where the HSE and where the government is coming from, and are they truly interested in providing the resources that we need. We have theatres sitting here idle in evening times and weekends. We have long lists of people awaiting surgery. We're farming out those procedures to private companies. It's over 9 million in the LUH alone over this last couple of years could be invested in LUH, and we could get better outcomes for the people of Donegal who don't have to travel any further.
The chairperson of the cross-border A5N2 committee says he believes the A5 can be brought back on track, but Stormont Infrastructure Minister Liz Kimmins will have a difficult task negotiating with executive colleagues on issues of climate change and emissions. Donegal Councillor Paul Canning says a close reading of the judgment suggests if the targets referenced in Monday's judgment are to be met, then there may have to be deals done with other departments to secure reductions elsewhere in order to meet the plan approved by the Assembly earlier this month. Councillor Canning told Greg Hughes on today's 9 till noon show the judgment could also have implications on this side of the border.
That's where Minister Kimmins is going to have a lot of negotiations and a lot of trade-offs. Now, here at home in Donegal, we have an opportunity based on those findings to go through the document and make sure that we're ready and up to speed as we go forward in relation to the 10T, because there is items there that we'll have to look at. I would say, yeah, that ruling is actually going to be a benchmark for other projects going forward.
A woman has been arrested in Derry following 2 reports of robberies last night. Both incidents happened on the waterside. With more detail, here's Michaela Clark.
At approximately 20 to 9 last night, a robbery in progress was reported at a shop on Heron Way in the waterside. The female suspect threatened a staff member with a knife, taking cash and other items from the shop. Police responded and located a woman matching the description of the suspect who was arrested. While dealing with this incident, police received a report of a robbery at nearby commercial premises, which had occurred a short time earlier on Rossdowney Road. It was reported a female had entered the store and threatened a staff member with a knife, making off with cash. The woman arrested, aged 37 years old, was arrested on suspicion of offences including robbery, and she remains in custody at this time. Inquiries are ongoing.
The amount of people diagnosed with dementia is expected to reach 150,000 across the state in the next 25 years. That's according to the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland. It's making its pre-budget submission to the government today. The charity says there was a 55% increase in people receiving daycare at home last year compared to 2023, while the number of people attending daycare centres rose by almost a quarter. The Society says an estimated 2,451 people are living with dementia in Donegal. Approximately 64,000 are affected across the country at present. Chief Executive Andy Heffernan wants the government to build on the progress that's been made so far.
Given the demographics in Ireland, we're probably looking at anywhere up to 150,000 by 2050. We've had a national strategy for dementia for some 10 years now. And within that, there's been some really, really good initiatives by the government. But it's all about maintaining momentum now. We're looking for somewhere in the region of 9 million for 2026 to maintain that momentum and build on the work of the past.
And the Donegal deputy says a decision to extend the right of people in Northern Ireland to vote in the presidential election here is long overdue. Speaking in the Dáil last evening, Sinn Féin TD Padraig McLaughlin said people north of the border have been contributing to Irish achievement for years, but they can't vote for the person who will represent them as president. He asked that legislation be brought in order to strengthen the relationship.
You go to a rugby game, Ireland standing together, they can't vote for their president. How long is this going to go on? It's outrageous. And what we're asking for is for you to bring in this legislation in line with the constitutional wishes of the Assembly that gathered, but also in terms of our people who are forced away, to have this connection, to have a president. But what an exciting opportunity that would be, a president where all Irish citizens would have a stake in that. That's what we're asking for, and it's long overdue.
Mostly cloudy today with patchy light rain or drizzle. Rain developing later into the afternoon. Top temperatures today 15 to 17 degrees Celsius in a light to moderate southerly wind. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines at 11 o'clock. Check all the day's news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning. The obituary notices for this Wednesday morning, the 25th of June. The death has occurred of Olivia Doherty, née Breslin, Pillar Park, Buncrana. Her remains will repose at her home from 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. Removal from there on Friday morning at 10:15, going to St Mary's Church, Cockhill for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining graveyard. The Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time, please, from 11 p.m. and before the funeral on Friday. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of desired to Breast Cancer, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Sean Murphy, funeral director. The death has taken place of Patrick Atty McGettigan, Glenree, Carrigart. His remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral tomorrow, going to the Church of St John the Baptist for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice. And the death has taken place of Neil Joe Ruddy, Dunross, Cooldaff, reposing at his late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30 for 11 o'clock funeral mass in St Mary's Church, Buchan, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed live on cooldaffparish.com. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Carndonagh Community Hospital, care of Eamon McLaughlin, funeral director. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Highland Radio. Summer's here! Yay! So it's time to stock up on sun protection at Aldi. There's something for everyone, like Lacora SPF 50 Plus Kids Roll-On at only $3.49. SPF 30 Dry Mist Spray for $3.99. And After Sun with Soothing Aloe Vera at just $2.49. All water resistant and dermatologically tested. So spread the word. And the sun cream while stocks last.
Now, a caller says, "Morning, Greg. I spent a year working up in St Bernadette School, and I have to say the standard of education and social skills being taught up there is simply outstanding. The staff are amazing, and the children just love it. It would be very sad to see anything change up there." Another caller says, "When we visited mainstream secondary schools in the area to see what they could offer our child, one school told us she would remain outside the classroom on her own for 90% of the time, as they just didn't have children with special needs. Another school told us they had an autism unit only, that there was no place for children with other mild general learning issues. Another school had a limited space for children with issues. How are these schools to be ready for taking in children such as those and giving them an equal, better learning experience and education than what they are already achieving in schools such as St Bernadette's in the next year or so? It cannot happen. Children will suffer. There has been no consultation with parents on this." Yeah, that's a pretty good way of putting it there, I suppose. Another emailer says, "Mainstream was not working out for my child, especially in the last years of primary school when the focus is really academic and on sporting achievements. St Bernadette School is equipped with resources for children with mild general learning disability. There are structured routines, small classes suited to children with sensory issues. The school environment is tailored to the children's needs. The teachers and educators have trained in cognitive learning disabilities and special education specifically. Our child transferred from mainstream to St Bernadette School for her secondary education and has proved to be transformative for her. She's just completed 2 years in St. Bernadette School and has made fantastic progress. The school is truly amazing. It's so clear that her and her classmates' needs are understood and prioritised, that she's among friends and classmates, her own peers. She has her individual lesson plan, junior cycle tailored to her and the other kids' needs. She's learning life skills. Her academic progress and her confidence has grown incredibly. A special class in a mainstream school cannot measure up in any way to this learning environment. Thank you for that. And, you know, I'm one of these people that listens to parents, listens to those most affected. And, you know, it is clear from these parents and their lived experiences with their children that they have great concerns about special classes in mainstream schools. More topics here. I'm sick and tired listening to the debate of the A5. It's been turned into a political football, as most things do. I've driven hundreds of thousands of miles on this road in cars, vans, lorries and coaches and haven't had one collision. I've witnessed many near misses, and in every case it was down to bad and aggressive drivers who tailgated and overtaked on blind bends. That comes in from time to time. This road is notorious. It's got all different types of traffic. It's got local traffic. It's got Donegal traffic. It's got traffic from other counties. It is clearly one of the most, if not the dangerous roads in Ireland. And it's the same drivers driving on all of these roads. So this has been going on too long and at too high an extent. You know, there are other people that have to come out onto the road, walk the road. You know, you need to think about this, if I can say respectfully, just a little bit more broadly. You know, I've driven on this road myself, and it's clearly evident that there are areas where it's problematic. You've got so much different traffic. You've got really bad bends, access out onto the road and so on and so forth. And as I say, it's the same drivers driving this road that drive every road in Ireland, yet this road is deadly. And there's been so many deaths and so many serious injuries as well. So, of course, I respect your view, but I just think evidently it might not just be the case. A caller says refuel prices. How can prices shoot up already when most of the oil and petrol was already in the country? Petrol in my town went up 9 cents this morning from last night. This is simply price gouging. When is something going to be done to stop hard-pressed families facing these increases by greedy owners? We'll shop around. You know, you can get, in Letterkenny, for an example, you can get diesel. Let me just widen it out. You can get diesel for $1.58 or you can pay $1.77. So that is just on a poxy little litre. That's a difference of what? $1.58, 19 cents a litre. In terms of what you're saying about the petrol and diesel already being in this country, it doesn't quite work like that. But that being said, oil prices have dropped again now that Iran and Israel are in their ceasefire at the moment. So I don't know why prices went up so steeply around here. I do know that some hadn't increased them. It'll be interesting to see when they get their next deliveries. Do they increase them too? But I just have noticed that some prices have dropped up to the high 70s, whilst others are still able to charge the mid 60s or the end of the 50s. So I don't know. I try and understand it, but sometimes I struggle. We've had loads of emails in as well, by the way, and I will be getting to those. In fact, I might just read this one now. Hi, Greg. Just an observation on some of the public areas around Letterkenny, and in particular a few of the main approach roads into the town. In one word, they say disgraceful. I refer in particular to what I consider to be probably the number one approach road into the town, the recently completed 4-lane road from Clanree to Polestar roundabout. What a shocking sight. There are thistles, dandelions, grass and numerous other types of weeds growing 3 to 4 foot high on the centre reservation alongside the ill-advised trees which have been planted there. Another road is the Ballyrain Road, which runs from Ballyrain roundabout to what we still refer to as the Oatfield roundabout. This, in and of itself, is a pretty road which is also blighted by huge weeds and grass growing out of control alongside the trees. Just what impression do first-time visitors to Letterkenny get? If I were a first-time visitor, I'm pretty sure what my first impression would be. Do any of our many councillors or public reps travel these roads? I think the answer is probably a resounding yes. Are these people blind or just oblivious to this? Can none of them make a simple call to someone in the council in this regard? In 2015, we won the National Tidy Towns Award. I, for one, would be mortified if I were to accompany a Tidy Town rep around this town at present. Surely we can do better. That comes in from David, not a Tanny, but a long-time resident. And, some people see that as nature and beauty, and some people see it as a mess. Letterkenny fared quite well in the recent Tidy Towns. I take your point. It's not really for me to say, let's open it up to other listeners. Do you believe the approach roads in terms of weeds and out of control greenery is a blight on Letterkenny as you approach? Let me know. 086 60 25,000. Now, before the break, thank you to all the staff in Medical 5, from everyone, to the catering staff, to the nurses and the doctors. They provided me with great care. Please play Paul Wellis, You Do Something to Me. That comes in from John. Well, John, I can't play that, but the message is there. Happy 50th wedding anniversary to Teresa and Charles Ramsey in Newtown, Cunningham, from their 6 children, 10 grandchildren, and their great-granddaughter. Have a lovely day, Teresa and Charles. Abby Lee O'Brien's in Chestnut Grove in Lifford, and a very happy birthday to you, Abby Lee, from Granny and Grandad O'Brien. And if you want to get a request played at any stage during the show, but we generally have time just after the 10 o'clock news, feel free to text them in at any time, email them at any time, comments@highlandradio.com, or call them in the first hour, and we'll include them just after 10. Right, back with more after we play bingo. Good luck if you are playing today. Here are the numbers.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday the 25th of June. You're playing on the blue sheet for the Dilly prize of €400. The reference number is S8. It's game number 26. The numbers are 58, 6, 66, 20, 1, 81, 71, 7, 82, and finally 61. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Charge into summer with TUI. Secure your holiday today with savings for families and adults flying from Dublin, Cork and Shannon. Holiday sorted. TUI. Live happy.
Fabric World's hot summer sale now on, with fabulous discounts on curtain and upholstery fabric and half-price pots in our garden department. Summer sandals and fashion from £10. Crafty deals, 3 fabric pieces for £12. And there's always great Euro rates at Fabric World, Maydown, Derry.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who has the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'll be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'll be them. 07491 43942.
The body is that of a 35-year-old. Significant lesions to the face, particularly the right temple, correlating to the intracranial hemorrhaging observed. Seatbelt abrasions clear across chest and abdomen. Broken femur and tibia, right leg. Cause of death, drink driving. Drink and drive, and you could put someone on a mortuary slab. A message from the Road Safety Authority. Visit rsa.ie.
Aintu has launched its Operation Shamrock Plan, a set of initiatives which it says will facilitate essential workers in coming home to Ireland and address systemic barriers to the progress of those workers who've left this country and not returned. Aintu leader is Deputy Pater Tobin. Good morning to you, Pater. Thanks so much for your time. Good to have you back on the show.
Good morning. Thanks for the opportunity.
Right. So, instantly, I'm thinking of the government plan to bring essential health workers home during the pandemic. Some of them responded. Not many got jobs. How does your plan different? How is it different?
Yeah, but I'm thinking back at that, and I think something like 70,000 essential health workers actually signed up to be on call for Ireland. And I think the government only employed about 450 of them, and that information was out of an Aintu PQ. Ours is different. So first of all, there's a serious problem. 34,700 people emigrated from Ireland last year. That's the highest figure since 2015, which was the austerity days. Secondly, we know that 13,000 nurses have left the country in the last 5 years. And a couple of years ago, the majority of graduating doctors left for Australia. And we know that this is happening at a time where there are major gaps within the health service, and this is causing damage to the delivery of the health service across the country. It's, I think, a very sad situation when you see so many people emigrate, especially when this country is meant to be awash with money, especially when we're meant to be awash with jobs.
So
Now,
just in relation to the healthcare workers, then, so like, say for an example, there's an element of lifestyle, right? So you can go to Dubai or Australia or wherever, so you get to spread your wings a little bit, maybe with the intention of coming home, maybe not. But also the terms and conditions, and you see some of the ads for the recruitment of nurses, using them as an example, or even the Gardaí when the Canadians come over actively looking to hire Gardaí. They're very, very favourable, and you factor into that potentially, life-work balance and good weather. Not wishing to poo-poo your proposals, but can we actually really compete with that?
Yeah, so there's two things in terms of health workers. First of all, in parts of Australia, it's mandated by law that the patient medical professional ratio must be 1 to 4. So 4 patients for every medical professional, such as a nurse. In Ireland, in reality, there's no law. And in actual fact, it could be 1 nurse for every 8, 9, 10, or even 11 patients. So there's no doubt that the working conditions are a disaster for many nurses in this country compared to the likes of Australia. Secondly, Australia are offering up to $15,000 for nurses to relocate to Australia at the moment, while the HSE currently is only offering €4,700 for nurses to relocate back home. So there's two things. If you want to make sure that nurses feel confident that they're coming back to a functional health service, you have to make sure that the money follows the actions in the health service, so that hospitals get paid for the number of operations, engagements, therapies, as such, and that we get money to the front line and we don't get money lost within administration. Secondly, we have a plan to reduce the health care professional patient ratio significantly, and we want to spend €24 million over a space of each year to reduce that patient ratio down and to give people confidence. But the third issue is also housing, and the fact that so many young people can't either afford to rent or buy housing in this country. And what we're looking to do in relation to that is build 2,000 houses a year for healthcare professionals and construction workers in the LDA system with planning exemptions, so that they can be built faster and cheaper. And for many years in Ireland, there was housing built for doctors, for nurses, for Gardaí, for specific
So what would stop me?
occupations.
So as a newly qualified nurse, then, what would stop me saying, right, it's actually more advantageous for me to move to Australia, work for a couple of years, come back here, get potential quick access to a house, and 12k in my back pocket?
Well, first of all, I will say that if you're a newly qualified nurse, the biggest reason you're probably looking to leave at the moment is the chaos and dysfunction in the health service. So Operation Shamrock looks to target that. So that would reduce the necessity for a person to leave. Secondly, obviously, in terms of our housing policy, our policy is to get rid of the VAT on construction of houses at the moment, which would take €50,000 off the price of a house.
But how do you stop nurses heading abroad, or builders heading abroad to come back, because they can have a 2-week life experience somewhere else, or 2 years, life experience somewhere else, and come back to this more advantageous situation?
I take your point. There's a danger that someone could game the system, and they could surf the incentives on both sides of the pond in terms of this.
So how do you counteract that?
But in reality, the reason why these nurses are going, and the conversations that we're having with nurses, is because of the absolute disaster within the health service. So the incentive to leave reduces when you start to focus and fix on that. In terms of counteracting that, we're looking at a situation where people would be in Australia or Canada for 5 years at least to participate in this.
It would be the returning nurses that would get access to these 2,000 properties in the 12k. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, returning nurses, doctors, and construction workers.
How is that fair to newly qualified nurses that choose to stay and enter that health system and work in it? That doesn't seem very fair.
I'll be honest with you, Greg. There is a prodigal son element to this. So you can have a situation where you say, okay, if we don't give an incentive to people to come home, we just have to remain static and we have to sit in our hands, and there's no movement on this. And I think all of your listeners will understand that if we want people to come home, we have to give an incentive. And to give an incentive means we have to make it economically worthwhile in terms of the payment for flights and to make sure that they settle down into accommodation in Ireland. And we have to say to them, we want to house you when you get home.
Just really seems unfair. It just seems, and I'm not trying to pick holes in it, Patter. It just seems really unfair to those who, in fact, what it sounds to me like, if I were a newly qualified nurse, the first thing I'd be doing is booking a flight somewhere else because I'm less valued than the prodigal son.
Yeah, well, that decision will be made without proper analysis and research. The proper analysis and research is telling you people are not going in a purpose to game the system. People are going not necessarily for the attractions that the Australian Health Service provide in terms of their incentives. People are going because there is dysfunction within the health service. Simon Harris, when he was Minister for Health himself, initiated a research document, showed that the reasons why there's so many accidents happening on hospital wards at the moment is because of the fact that there is such a poor healthcare professional to patient ratio. Most nurses want to stay here. Most doctors want to stay here. Most construction workers want to stay here. And their families do too. They want to be able to raise their families, to live in this country. They're being driven out of this country by two reasons. They're being driven by the dysfunction within the health service and the cost of housing. So our objective is twofold. Our objective in making sure that the money goes to the action will improve the health service for both returnee and the person who remains here both. Mm-hmm. So it is
that's the level playing field. It's when it comes to the incentives to return that the playing field becomes skewed.
Well, can I ask you a question here? For example, if you're a nurse on a ward at the moment in Letterkenny Hospital, okay, and someone says to you, we're going to give an incentive for nurses to come home to Ireland, and they think to themselves, well, that would mean instead of me looking after 12 nurses tomorrow, 12 patients tomorrow, I'll have to look after 8 patients tomorrow. My job will be more sustainable as a result of this. So there is a net benefit for people. But if I
were just taking up my job, and I walked into the canteen, and to my right was a nurse with a lovely tan or whatever, because they'd been in Australia for 2 years, that have €12,000 in the back pocket and access to a house, and I'd be sitting there because I stayed at home with no 12k. And probably at the back of the housing waiting list because I'm the squeezed middle, the working poor.
First of all, it's important to say that the 12k can only be drawn down if a person remains in that role for 5 years. And I can bet your bottom dollar, there's no doubt in my mind, Greg, if you tell nurses working within the system that you will have extra staff helping you on a daily basis, most nurses,
of course.
Most doctors will
so you're saying you wouldn't get the 12k unless you were 5 years at home?
Yeah, no, for sure. You're not going to get the 12k unless you remain within that sector for 5 years.
Right. So
and that's the key issue as well.
That sounds even less attractive.
So how it works in other jurisdictions is the money is given out over a period of time. It's front loaded, and if the person leaves that role after a period of time, they have to return the whole chunk as well. But here's a crisis. Right now at the moment, we have 107,000 adverse incidents that are happening in hospitals on an annual basis. 500 people are losing their lives in health service because of the accidents that are happening at the moment. The government has spent €2.25 billion on compensation just in a 10-year period within the health service because of the accidents that are happening. And nurses and doctors are voting with their feet, and they're leaving this jurisdiction for others because of that dysfunction. And we have a shocking situation. We're spending hundreds of thousands of euros educating doctors, educating nurses, and as soon as they qualify, they are leaving this jurisdiction. Yeah. And that is a sin in terms of the waste of money, but also the waste of opportunity in terms of those people being able to live their lives here. And at Christmas time, many people in Donegal will have an empty chair around their dinner table because their loved one is in Australia and in Canada, and their loved ones, children's, are doing their Holy Communions and their confirmations and their graduations in another country. And those grandparents hardly ever get to see them.
I
And
think
what we're looking to do is reverse that.
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit different up here, as you'd be well aware, Patter, because of course, you're talking about our health service catching up with the international situation. The problem we have here is, like Letterkenny University Hospital is so far behind the national situation. We rely incredibly heavy on locums because we can't get consultants to come up and work here inexplicably, really, other than some very debatable reasons. Sligo's been located as a surgical hub location without Letterkenny even being invited to apply for that. Compared to comparable hospitals, the amount of money we have per 1,000 patients is millions upon millions below the likes of Sligo University Hospital. In this year alone, 2025, Donegal's had a €35 million investment in the 2025 HSE capital plan from a €1.33 billion budget. So we're getting 0.3% of the budget, and yet we've got 3.2% of the population. So we're regionally trying to catch up that I struggle to sort of buy into sort of the national thing. Well, but that's you're a national politician and I'm a regional journalist.
I have sympathy. I do have sympathy in cases of Letterkenny because, believe it or not, Navan Hospital would be in a similar situation. And Navan Hospital was earmarked for closure of its A&E 10 years ago, and because of the fight we put up, we've managed to keep the A&E. And the problem is that the likes of Letterkenny and Navan, in my understanding, is that they're not training hospitals, and as such, they're finding it difficult to get consultants and junior doctors to locate into those areas, and therefore you have a lot of locums. And the situation is a lot of those locums are actually doctors that were trained in other countries and other jurisdictions. And it's quite incredible that we are filling our hospitals with doctors who are trained in other jurisdictions while our own doctors are going abroad. It doesn't make sense. And right now, 51% of all undergraduates in the Irish medical schools are actually students from outside of the EU. And the reason that's the case is because the schools need their money to be able to function. But the problem is that most of those doctors, when they graduate, will go home. Yeah. And we're left with a massive gap in the number of doctors.
Now, I'm sorry. I know that you were talking. It's not just the health. It's not just the health service. Sure. It's other essential workers. But it's just that seems most pertinent to us here at the moment.
Construction workers, I think, is another key issue, given obviously the housing crisis and the mica crisis in Donegal as well. Just give an example. The government, in terms of trying to attract back construction workers in the last 5 years, has spent about €170,000. All that added up to was a social media campaign. When we asked them how many construction workers came home to Ireland as a result of that campaign, they didn't know. Even when we asked in terms of health workers around how many people availed of the €4,700 returning fee, the HSE didn't know. There's a complete lack of information in terms of this. The government don't mean business in terms of bringing people home. And in terms of construction, there's obviously, we could speak for an hour on the problems happening within the construction industry. But two major issues are the lack of workers and also construction inflation. And the lack of workers actually feeds into construction inflation.
Of course, but also too, it is, and I've been saying this for years. It's not that I'm very. It's infrastructure. We've a big swathe of Donegal currently under a hosepipe ban. It doesn't have enough water to facilitate any new development. Yeah. And there's many other areas on the brink of actually having no water.
I had Ishka Aaron in with me in front of the infrastructure committee there 2 weeks ago in Leinster House. I asked them, I said, when will you fill the gaps in the water infrastructure system that are currently blocking the building of houses? And they said they will have the gaps filled in 2050.
All right, terrible.
So
finally, quick reaction.
Quick reaction. 25 years before they're going to have those gaps filled.
It's crazy.
Before housing can be built. It's just incredible.
Quick reaction. What do you think of Sinn Féin's new proposal to allow people in the North vote in presidential elections? A good idea? You could hop
I
on
think
that one.
it's an excellent idea. We have our own bill.
I know,
in the Dáil.
I'm being facetious. I'm being facetious.
So actually, I'm glad that Sinn Féin have done it. I'm glad that they have kind of woken up again to these issues. We've worked hard on it. We've put our own bill into the Leinster House. It was just, we asked Mary Lou, and would she sign the bill, because we wanted it to be a cross-party bill. But unfortunately, Sinn Féin didn't come back to us. And I will say this to your Sinn Féin listeners, these issues are bigger than any one political party, and petty political differences or bitterness.
Yeah, but everyone
shouldn't
wants.
get in the way
It's
of
like
it.
counter motions. Everyone wants their sort of name at the top of the bill. Very finally, are you back in anyone or chatting to anyone about potential candidacy for the election, or are you in discussions with other, to get the critical mass required to propose a candidate?
We would like to run our own candidate, but there is a difficulty there. We're talking to people within the Oireachtas around signatures. You have to have 20 Oireachtas members to be able to nominate.
Is there a candidate you
for
could
that.
get behind if you couldn't meet your own sort of?
Yeah, we are definitely willing. There's about two candidates have already contacted us, and we are weighing up the pros and cons in relation to that. We have an Ord Corley meeting this Saturday. We're meeting in Bodenstown in Kildare for a commemoration for Wolf Tone, and then our Ord Corley meeting is happening. And after our Ord Corley meeting, we'll have a decision on the two people who've already asked us to back their campaigns. But we would definitely support a campaign of a candidate that represents, our objectives and our policies.
All right. Listen, thanks for all of your time. Take care of yourself. That's the N2 leader there, Paddy Tobin. What do you think of those proposals? I mean, it's a nice idea, but I want to know what you think.
It's extremely big. It's extremely scary. And it's extremely good fun. Extreme Fun Fair, the most extreme fun fair to ever visit Letterkenny. From June the 28th to July the 13th at the Kiltoy Roundabout. See Facebook, Instagram, or book now at extremefunfair.ie.
At Warehouse Bar and Kitchen, Main Street, Letterkenny, you'll find mouth-watering food and drinks served 7 days a week. Great deals with Tuesday Burger Night, Thursday Steak Night, Fizzy Friday and Weekend Brunch. There's live music every weekend and the perfect spot for your private parties. Follow Warehouse Bar and Kitchen on social media for specials and updates.
You know that guy I've been seeing? Yeah? Turns out my sister's been seeing him too. Oh, really? And I heard he's been seeing Siobhan at number 56. And Declan. Your brother? Yep.
Specsavers opticians and audiologists own their stores, so your care is their business, which can make them rather popular.
I've got something to tell you. I've got half an hour with him this afternoon.
Specsavers, your care is our business.
At Uisce Éireann, we're continuing to upgrade Ireland's water network to ensure a clean, safe and reliable water supply. When repair and maintenance work is required in your area, we want to make sure homes and businesses are informed. That's why we have a new free text alert service providing real-time updates for issues lasting more than 4 hours. Sign up with your mobile number and air code at water.ie. Uisce Éireann, delivering water services for Ireland.
Soak up the sun this summer at Home Store and more. From stylish garden furniture to sizzling barbecues, twinkling solar lights and colourful garden decor. Stylish parasols and spacious gazebos, all your sunny day heroes. A welcoming smile as you walk through the door. More choice and more savings we're famous for. Drop by your local Home Store and more, or shop online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Don't miss the 33rd annual Finn Valley Show at Russell Brothers Farm, Killygordon on Saturday 28th of June. Enjoy dog, home industries, poultry, sheep, cattle, horse and pony classes. Plus the Fast and Furious Donkey Derby. There's also a show and shine tractor competition judged by Kirsty Ward from Grassmen. With live music from Jason McGahill and Anthony Redstone, trade stands and children's entertainment. It's sure to be a fun-filled day at the Finn Valley Show on Saturday 28th of June. This ad is brought to you by Kieran's Butchers Rafo, a family-run butcher bringing the finest meats from Donegal Farms to your table.
All right, let's say good morning now to Councillor Dennis McGee of the 100% Redress Party. Good morning, Dennis. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning.
It's good to have you on the show. Right, okay, interesting. We've seen sort of town teams pop up around different parts of the county developing plans, discussing the future, and so on and so forth. And we're seeing some progress in towns off the back of that. And you are wondering if anyone might be interested in getting involved in a similar initiative for Falcarra.
Yeah, well, I mean, tonight we have our third meeting, and in probably the last 2 months when it comes to this here. And first of all, I have to give a big shout out to Patricia McIntyre. She's the Town Regeneration Officer within Donegal County Council. And I remember reaching out to her, watching how town teams were being set up in the likes of Glenties, Buncrana, Creesla. And I thought, wow, brilliant idea, because it kind of acts as an umbrella over all the local little committees, and it brings them all under the one roof.
And Dennis, traditionally how these work then, the umbrella group, the town team then sort of then has further public meetings so that everybody with an interest in Falcarra gets to feed into certain questionnaires about the future of the facilities, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not necessarily the small team that make these calls. They then facilitate a wider public engagement about the future of Falcarra. Is that the same pattern being followed here?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the vital part of it, that nobody is left behind. Do you know what I mean? All the organisations get to feed into this here, and it's about the people, and what do the people want for, Falcarra, the greater Cloughaneely area, So, let that be the youth of Falcarra or the Cloughaneely area. There's so much to offer there, because we're part of the Gaeltacht. We have the golf club there, we have the GAA, the tourism. You'll have to go through Falcarra if you want to take that coast road over along that Wild Atlantic Way. So there's so much. But the main thing is we need all the stakeholders, everybody, to show an interest here now, because
and for those who may not be aware too, eventually, hopefully, a town plan is developed, and then with the support of the council, there's various funding streams. It could be the development of a play park, a greenway, or whatever. It's whatever's actually most relevant to the area, and it allows the people of Falcarra to have their sort of say on that direction. So tonight's meeting, then, it's still a shout out for anyone who might be interested in forming this town team, being part of this umbrella group. So when and where, Dennis?
So it's on in the Chanbarrick tonight at 8 p.m. and it would be great to see, loads of people there. Now we have had 2 meetings and there is good interest, but it's important to get a little plug in here now today to just remind people to come out, because we don't want to move forward and leave anybody behind, So this is a call out to because everybody's welcome,
Yeah.
This is about the youth, the future of Cloughaneely, Falcarra in general, and what the people want. I think that's the main message.
All right, then. Thanks for that, Dennis. Take care of yourself. Councillor Dennis McGee there. Get along to that if you're in the area. Some reaction coming in to Padatoe Bean. What nonsense, says one listener. What about all the people that are at home working hard? Why don't we care for them instead of trying to take people home? We need to appreciate who is already here working. And I think part of their plan also, as reference, would be to make the working environment in hospitals better for those that are here. Whether that came to pass or not. All doctors and nurses should be contractually obliged to work for 5 years in Ireland before they can even emigrate. That's an interesting one. It comes up from time to time, and there are varying views in relation to that. But if you are, there's a lot of expense on behalf of the student, but the state puts up quite a bit too. And it's a tricky one. The politicians don't want to get involved in that one because there's very mixed views in relation to it. A caller says we should also pay workers with more experience more than newly qualified workers. Experience, they say, is invaluable. Another, don't blame student nurses and doctors leaving Ireland, as the grass is definitely greener on the other side as far as the social and career opportunities that are there. Maybe it should be that all trained here sign a contract to give back at least 2 years in our hospitals before travelling abroad. See, one's an incentive and one's sort of part of your training process. You start sort of getting involved in the latter there, it could be complicated. Greg, we should ensure that our very well-educated staff are obliged to remain in the health service for some years post-registration. This would certainly ease the problem and enhance the experience. Interesting, because that never really came up in the conversation, but quite a number of you are suggesting that newly qualified healthcare professionals, if I'm reading it correctly, should be obliged to work here for a period of time. Another caller says it's not going to happen. You won't get the 12,000 unless you are in the nursing sector for 5 years. I think it's pie in the sky, like everything else in Ireland. Plenty of money, but none of the Irish citizens are seeing any of it. If I were part of the Ain't sort of policy people sitting around a table on that one, I'm not sure I'd have signed off on it, if I'm honest with you. I'm a healthcare assistant for over 12 years and I'm struggling to build my home here in Donegal. I'm entitled to nothing. I've been through the tough times in Ireland. I've also done my time in Australia and came home with a few bob. Why are they making a difference? Any word when water will be back on again in Carndonagh? Let me check in on the next break on that, see if I can find any information for you. Back with our next guest after these messages.
Is your couch older than your Spotify playlist? Is your dining table wobblier than your uncle at a wedding? If so, it's time for an upgrade at Grove Furnishings, Kiltoy Road, Letterkenny, the largest furniture store in the Northwest. From stylish sofas to elegant beds, from floor covering to occasional pieces, we've got you covered. And we offer free delivery within 80 kilometres. Grove Furnishings. Seriously good furniture.
Planning a trip between Donegal and Glasgow this summer. Great news, Loganair is adding more flights. Fly Wednesdays from June 18th and Saturdays from July 5th. Enjoy more choice for your summer travel, plus a free 15kg bag. Book now at loganair.co.uk. Terms and conditions apply.
A public service announcement from Donegal County Council. Donegal County Council are delighted to announce that the Lochfoyle ferry service linking Greencastle and McGilligan and the Swilly ferry service linking Buncrana and Rathmullen will operate a full service from the 30th of May 2025. Both ferries operate 7 days a week. Further information, including timetables and fares, can be found at lochfoyleferry.com or swillyferry.com. Donegal County Council, promoting tourism and supporting our communities.
New store, new project. Your new B&Q and TradePoint Letterkenny is now open. Dreaming of a garden glow-up? Fresh colour for your walls? Or a new kitchen? Whatever you need for your next home improvement project, we're here to help at your new B&Q Letterkenny. Find us at Unit 4 Letterkenny Retail Park, Neil T. Blaney Road. We're open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sunday. You can do it when you B&Q it.
Brian McCormick Sports. New Hoka trainers in-store and online. Try the new Clifton 10, even softer as you take every stride. New range of colours for men and women. Different widths to suit your feet. Bondi 9. New colours for men and women. Take the Hoka challenge and see what fits you best. If you're road running or walking, maximise your comfort and support at Brian McCormick Sports, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenny's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Today, mostly cloudy with patchy light rain or drizzle. Rain will develop late this afternoon. Highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees and light to moderate southerly wind. Now, back to the issue of that circular that went out in relation to certain children in certain schools being moved into mainstream schools, special classes, etc. Louise joins me on the programme now on this topic. Louise, thanks for your time this morning.
Good morning, Greg, and thank you for facilitating the call.
All right. Your reaction to the redesignation of special schools, what do you believe the impact of such a move might be?
Well, I was stunned to read it and just to see that at this stage of the year, that this would be information that parents and schools will be receiving, and it makes it very difficult to mobilise a movement when we have so little time to prepare. I just think that this type of initiative is actually going to lead to the exclusion of a very vulnerable group of students.
Do you think this sort of categorisation of children as well because it's not everyone's affected by this. And on the face of it, mild this and mild that, it might sound like better inclusion. As I say, unless you're acutely aware or directly affected, I'm just wondering if the general population might be looking at this just a quick read and going, oh, this sounds right. Yeah, this is exactly what we should be doing. But it doesn't really, these labels don't necessarily, it's not really quite that simple.
No, that's exactly it. The word mild, there's nothing mild in the learning and educational experience of children with mild general learning difficulties. It's not a one size fits all, but their educational experience has been very, very difficult for them. And, there's not a parent in the country, Greg, who, when they're having a new baby that was welcomed into their life, they go, I really hope this child is going to struggle and things are going to be difficult for them. We all want the best for our children. But the mild label, there is nothing mild about it. Many children that attend mild general learning difficulty schools have to have a mild intellectual difficulty, but many have co-occurring other conditions like epilepsy, autism, ADHD, mobility issues, neurological issues. There's all sorts of things. So there's nothing mild about it. And I think the understanding, generally, people think, oh, if it's mild, they'll be grand. They'll be grand. They can go off to the local school and the SNA can pop in and out to them and they'll be grand. But that really isn't the experience. And my fear, and my child would be included in this category, is that there will be an educational cleansing of a very vulnerable group of children. Because although they have mild general learning difficulties, if they are displaced from an environment which facilitates and celebrates their type of learning, they will stop presenting in school, and people will think, well, mild general learning difficulty, it's not that big a deal.
Well, also something that came up yesterday in the conversation, and I didn't have the time to dig into it, was sort of mild general learning disabilities. So in the St. Bernadette situation, the children with the children classified MGLD would be moved into mainstream schools, and it seems the plan then would be to move children with more complex needs into the likes of St. Bernadette's, right? So it's almost creating, I don't know how I would describe it, but it's almost as if a parent could say, well, that's my place because my child needs it more than your child. Your child's good enough for a mainstream school. My child needs it. And that's kind of unsettling for me. It feels a little unsettling.
For me, it's a very divisive move because I love my child and I'm going to help protect his educational setting because there will be nothing mild about my response to helping meet his needs where they're at. But it sets parents of children with special educational needs apart, and it sets us against each other because one person would think, well, should they be grand? They can go off to the local comp. My child needs it more. When parents of children with special educational needs, we need to mobilise and we need to be united in this together and not be set apart from each other. And children shouldn't, it's not the responsibility of children with special educational needs to provide spaces for other children with special educational needs to attend school. That's the responsibility on the government. It is not on some of our most vulnerable students. And my real concern, and I'm a teacher for 23 years, and we moved up to Donegal because this was an exceptional school that could meet the needs of our child. Because not all children can thrive educationally in all environments. And my real concern is that children with mild general learning difficulties will become educational refugees. They will be displaced from their educational setting, forced into unsuitable educational settings, and there will be simply trauma from that. There will be school refusal, there will be anxiety, there will be depression. And then people will think the mild general, they were grand, but the child will present with other problems because their inability to cope and the stressful environment.
Yeah, Louise, I think also we have a bit of a window here because everyone I've spoken to so far, like yourself, has a child who is in St. Bernadette Special School, but also a lot of the parents I spoke to yesterday, their experience was their child or their children were in mainstream schools and were everything that you've described happening actually was happening to them. They were falling behind, hiding books that were 2 years behind their peers in the same classroom. Then they moved to St. Bernadette's and thrived and excelled and exceeded even the performances of some of their peers. Now, you're coming at this with great knowledge, Louise, and the parents I spoke to yesterday were as well. But we're very trusting, and we trust the HSA, and we trust the Education Board, and I'm just thinking on parents who will get a diagnosis, an MGLD diagnosis of their child in this year or next year or the year after, or after this circular is enforced, and they'll be told that the best thing for their children is a special class in a mainstream school, and they won't know.
Mm-hmm.
They won't know. They will have nothing to compare or no experience, and maybe your opinion might be lost at that point. You know what I mean? Because you've had your say.
Yeah.
And there'll be a whole it might take a generation or two before we all cop on again that we knew what we were doing was right. Does that make sense? It sounds a bit.
That makes absolute sense. I would, for me as a parent and as a teacher, I would see that the mild general learning difficulty label is under threat, because the children will be displaced and they will start to be labelled as having other behaviours. That's why they're not engaging in school. They will fall through the cracks, and parents will be under pressure because they'll say, oh, well, the child is on the borderline mild. Maybe if we apply a bit of pressure, we get a private assessment, maybe it'll go towards more of a moderate. There'll be a better educational setting for them then. And then again, when you misdiagnose the needs of a child, you misdiagnose the learning needs, the social development needs. And the impact of a dysfunctional educational system is a lifelong impact on any child, and it continues on into adulthood. Any of us can think back to things that happened in school that upset us or shaped us. You can see the trauma of previous generations of how education was handled and the trauma that it had. And we are looking at, this is a group of children who will be intellectually cleansed. This will stop existing.
But we really need to make sure, us as a society and as a collective responsibility here, we really need to take a pause now that this is in the public domain and make sure that what we're doing is right for all children. Because this will it'd be very difficult to undo. Because the schools will no longer be there, the expertise will no longer be there, the children will be falling behind. They maybe have behavioural problems. They become adults and might not function as well in society as they might.
Exactly.
And that could be 18 years down the line. So I think it's important that we all make sure right now, and I've said this about other issues in education, that we all take a pause here and make sure for all children that we're making the right decision now. Because, as I say, to put this genie back in the bottle down the line will be impossible.
Yeah, and these are real children with real life experiences who want the best opportunities at life. And I will say, from my experience, professionally and personally, St. Bernadette's and schools that are tailor-made and tailor-built to meet the learning needs of their students, the impact they have on that child is unbelievable. And it allows them access to school, access to education, access to employment, because they have the life skills, they've learned at a pace that's appropriate and adequate, and it's unleashed all this creativity and magic in these children who have always felt less than. Kind of like other children, but on the edge, and they are at a bigger risk of bullying, of mental health issues, of trauma, of depression, anxiety, and school refusal, because they have always felt other than. And every parent wants their child to thrive in school, and it would be handy if every child could go to the local school up the road. But if that's not meeting the child's needs, that's where the issue is. And
Louise.
It's up to the government to provide these places, not to say to some children, you're just not special enough.
Right.
It's just totally unacceptable. Sorry.
No. Listen, it's so important what you're saying, and I maybe I can't do it now because of time. I would. I wouldn't mind speaking to you maybe if you had an insight too, is the impact on the wider school population as well. I mean, is this the right decision for students in mainstream schools? And
that's a definite conversation that needs to be had.
Because of resources being limited, resources being but directed elsewhere. Do you want a minute on that, Louise?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah.
Go on, just give us a minute, because I open till 11. What could be the broader impact then on school life? The
broader impact will be that children with mild general learning difficulties, and with their co-occurring conditions, their places are going to be subject to yearly review. So if your child is doing really well, your child is at risk of not staying in a mild school. So the broader issues with the educational experience will be that mainstream schools will absorb, and sorry to use that word, the children with mild general learning difficulties to open up the spaces for children with more complex needs. So within the mainstream school setting, and this is for every parent out there who has a child that attends a mainstream setting, the access that your child is receiving now to an SNA or to a resource teacher, that will be limited because the demographic within the school, the educational demographic within the school will change. There's the same amount of resource teachers, same amount of resource areas, SNAs, but because the demographic will change, the resources
The student
will
population
be
profile
further.
changes. Okay, brilliant.
The student population profile changes.
Brilliant explanation. Thank you. Very, very important, Louise. Thank you so very much indeed.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
All right, another busy hour on the way. But at 11 o'clock, let's get a news update. And it's back over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The chairperson of the cross-border A5N2 committee says he believes the A5 can be brought back on track, but Stormont Infrastructure Minister Liz Kimmins will have a difficult task negotiating with executive colleagues on issues of climate change and emissions. Councillor Paul Canning told Greg on today's 9 till Noon Show the judgment could also have implications on this side of the border. You can listen back to that whole interview on our website, highlandradio.com. Also on the website you can see a map which has been updated. It was first produced in 2016 showing the locations on the A5 where deaths have taken place. 57 deaths now listed on that map. It's a very stark picture indeed. The new chair of the HSE's Regional Health Forum says securing a surgical hub for Donegal will be a key target of his tenure, and he'll be using his place at the top table to push the case with the HSE's Regional Chief Tony Canavan and others. Councillor Jerry McMonigal also says the need for more investment in Letterkenny University Hospital has been proven over and over again, and how the government and HSE respond to the united voices of doctors and political representatives in Donegal will be a litmus test. A woman in her 30s has been arrested in Derry following two reports of robberies last night. Both incidents happened on the waterside, one at a premises on Heron Way, the other on Rossdowney Road. 1 in 3 women are physically, psychologically or sexually abused by their partner, according to Women's Aid. Last year, the charity received over 32,000 contacts, the highest number in its 50-year history. Physical abuse increased by 22%, sexual abuse by 30%, while emotional and economic abuse were up 15% and 5% respectively. And 41 people have been killed by Israeli forces in Gaza, according to hospitals there. 14 were killed near 8 distribution sites. It's as reports come of discussions taking place between Hamas and Israel on a new ceasefire there. And we're back with news again with headlines at 12 noon.
OK, Donald, thank you. We'll be back with more after the break.
Celebrate your love at the award-winning Villa Rose Hotel and Spa Ballybuffet. The elegant Capri Suite hosts up to 300 guests with a private garden and romantic stone cottage for unforgettable wedding photos. Experience exceptional service that turns your dream wedding into reality. Visit villarose.ie to start planning.
At Screwfix, you can click and collect over 10,000 trade products in as little as 1 minute. So whether it's sockets and swords or radiators in Roscommon, when you need it yesterday, just click at screwfix.ie and collect at your local store 7 days a week. T's and C's apply. Visit screwfix.ie for full details.
It's Dining and Garden Week at Easy Living Furniture. Enjoy massive savings both in-store and online with hundreds of special offers in our dining department. Plus get free delivery on all dining orders over £499. Looking to upgrade your outdoor space? We're also offering free delivery on all garden furniture orders. Perfect for creating the alfresco dining experience that you've always dreamed of. Shop now at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, Derry, Londonderry.
Join me, Marty Friel, every Friday night from 8 for Rockin' Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7. Enjoy Laser Quest, soft play, darts or a game of pool before dining in their fast food diner or family restaurant. See arena7.ie.
I was in pain with my right hip going to different countries on a flight. With the pain I was in wasn't really an option. I googled hospitals in Belfast and Kingsbridge came up.
Republic of Ireland residents can get rapid access to cross-border surgeries at Kingsbridge private hospitals in Belfast and Derry, with medical costs reimbursed by the HSE. Find out more at kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com/cross-border. Kingsbridge, your fast track to 5-star care. Terms and conditions apply.
Would you like to experience the magic of Riverdance 30, the new generation? Come along with Highland Radio on Thursday, August the 28th for an unforgettable trip to Dublin's Gaiety Theatre. Enjoy luxury coach travel, a night stay at the 4-star Grand Canal Hotel, and premium seats to the iconic show. Spaces are limited, so secure your spot today. Call us now on 074 91 25000 or visit the outlet at highlandradio.com.
An olí tú pinta, Gerald?
Mu sé óla. Be man an cool bhealach ógal bháile.
Tá Seán hééis gearóid eáil agus é garú pinta. Tés aige go le gceiste go chara tomáint faoi chiúnach ar an áil. Ar cheartó rud cinnta rá, nó é scuile Harris, ar ríist.
Sláinte cheáin.
Oh, se. Sláinte amhac.
Marín tomáint faoi chiúnach ar nóil daine. Ná ligda de cháirde tomáinte go siad faoi chiúnach ar nóil. Teachtarach don údarás umhaváilteach ar bmhóire. Tour court at rsa.ie.
I call it says on the back of the comment, a ped doctor would not diagnose a child to their 14s, complete and utter nonsense, or poor children need a diagnosis to access the little non-existent services. What a stupid comment. It's no wonder parents are fighting for services when doctors are refusing to diagnose a child. Greg, every evening I go for a cycle. Now I have calls with cars early. Greg, every evening go for a cycle. Now I have close calls. Is it with cars every evening? Yesterday, I had a car pass me on a corner with a car incoming. The two cars had to stop dead on the side of the road, nearly bumper to bumper. As the driver then passed me a second later, he decided to laugh at me and stick up his finger. It's only a matter of time. What is wrong with people? We're in close calls out on the roads. No doubt about that. You do hear reports of it all of the time. The Letterkenny to Lifford Road takes the highest volume of county traffic daily. Our councillors should start from this side of the border and push for a new road which was mentioned over 30 years ago as dangerous, if not worse, than the A5, with many lives lost through the decades. Very few roads would compete with the A5 in terms of fatalities. And that road obviously is part of 10T, isn't it? So that is progressing, we're told, although the progress always feels slower than it should be. And you're quite right, it's been on the cards for years upon years. Right, this week on Wellness Wednesday, we observe Scoliosis Awareness Month. We're shining a spotlight on spinal health and overall well-being. Scoliosis, a condition characterised by a sideways curvature of the spine, affects millions worldwide. While it's a journey many navigate, focused on wellness can significantly improve quality of life, manage symptoms and promote long-term health for those with scoliosis. Siobhan Mungovan is author and advocate for spina bifida and renal failure and joins me on the programme now. Good morning to you, Siobhan.
Good morning and thank you so much for having me.
No, it's our pleasure. Thank you for being with us. So you have scoliosis, front and back, and spina bifida. So what is the impacts on you and how does it affect you?
So I have kyphoscoliosis, which is scoliosis from the front and the back. So my spine is in the shape of a backward S, excuse me. And I guess spina bifida and scoliosis affects people in many, many different ways. But how it affects me is my lung capacity. I'm working on about 10% lung capacity on a day-to-day basis. And just to give you a kind of a visual picture as to what that actually looks like and feels like, for me, it's like breathing through a straw. And any given time, that's the amount of oxygen that I'm able to get into my body. So it's challenging at the best of times, but we make the best of what we have.
Yeah, indeed. In terms of scoliosis, a lot of the conversation, and I'm not saying it's not right, but a lot of the conversation is on young people about operations, about waiting lists, about how we get these people into operating theatres and get the right treatment for them at the right time. And that is very, very important as well. But presumably there's a whole cohort of people with scoliosis like yourself. Did you ever have the option for an operation? Was that ever on the cards for you? Or perhaps maybe you did have an operation?
You are correct in saying that early detection is key with somebody with scoliosis, and that comes with early age. For me, I suppose they use the method, wait and see method, and unfortunately, that's not really the method that I firmly agree with. And it has kind of made me to where I am today. So we did the wait and see method, and it was basically to wait until I stopped growing. And that was age 19 or 18. And then we did the assessment to see was I eligible for the surgery. But then it came too late because my spinal cord was wrapped around my spine. So the risk was far too high for me to take in order to straighten my spine. For me personally, surgery was never going to be an option.
But then, in terms of, you're an advocate for spina bifida and other. I'm just curious, is with so much focus rightly on the conversation we have about scoliosis, are we missing out in supports for you or others with scoliosis that have not had operations but are sort of continuing life? I'm just wondering, is it difficult sometimes to get your voice heard in this area?
First of all, I empathise completely with the young adults and the kids that are on those waiting lists and their parents. I'm always an advocate for the carers of Ireland because I do think they're the forgotten people and they're looking on us suffering. But I suppose I want to give a little bit of hope and light to those people who have scoliosis, that I have kyphoscoliosis, which is quite severe scoliosis, and I'm living my life as best I possibly can, and I've got such an appreciation for what I have in life. And it's not to say come on here and say that it's been easy, because it has not. It's been one hell of a journey, but I think my resilience and my strength and the support network around me has pulled me through those dark times. And I want to, as I said, shed a bit of light and hope to the parents and the young people who are living with scoliosis, and maybe surgery may not be an option.
You had that around you, that support that got you through the dark times. Are we organised on a national level that families of children with, or young adults with scoliosis, or indeed they themselves with scoliosis, do we have enough sort of support to help people through the dark times like you were able to avail of?
I think the element of being heard is powerful, and I do believe sometimes people are not being heard, and those are the resources I think that do need a little bit of improvement. In relation to, like, I'm in talk therapy since day dot, and I'm a huge advocate for talk therapy, but sometimes I believe maybe talk therapy is not readily available to people in order to be able to speak and to be heard with something that you're living with, like scoliosis or spina bifida or whatever it may be. So those resources are there, but sometimes maybe are too expensive. Sometimes they're not really available in your locality if you're living in rural Ireland. So there is room for improvement, but we are progressing more than we did back when I was young.
Yeah, which is positive, and I do appreciate the sort of recognising the gaps, but also it is important to talk of the positives as well. You mentioned some of the impact spina bifida has had on you. I think most people with spina bifida, their experience might be different to the next person's. It's that type of a condition, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that's something that I really want to get across, because it's considered the snowflake condition. And what I mean by that, if there was 10 people lined up in a row right in front of you now, we'd all have different experiences, different symptoms, different side effects of what spina bifida is, or indeed scoliosis. Just because scoliosis affects me, my lung capacity, a lot of people would say that they have chronic pain with it. I'm extremely fortunate to say that I don't have chronic pain with it, but then I have the lung capacity issue. So if each individual's experience is unique to them.
Yeah, okay. And what can we learn then? Why is it important that we understand that everyone's experience with spina bifida is different?
I think it's important because we all have different maps of the world, and like, I think we can't really put our vision of the world into somebody else's, and that goes with either having a disability or being an able-bodied person. I can't tell how you live your life. I don't know what you've been through. You don't know what I've been through, really, and it just comes with having that place of empathy and being able to hold space for whatever that person is willing to share. And like, going back to what you said earlier, the resources within Ireland, just to be able to hold space for somebody, for them to be able to share and be open. Because I do believe sometimes when you have a condition like spina bifida or scoliosis, that we do we're very kind of scared of showing our vulnerable side.
Mm.
And from years, I was very scared showing my vulnerable side. And to this day, it's still a little bit of a struggle because we don't want people to see the not so nice side to us, but
Mm.
like we're an all round human being, the good, the bad, and sometimes the quirky, as I say.
Yeah, exactly, which is kind of all of us, isn't it?
Hmm.
And you know, people will be listening, and of you know, even I was going to say even just the 10% lung capacity, if you understand where I'm coming from. But you know that and everything else that you've gone through in your life. You're 38 now, and you remain so positive, and you know you also so quick to want to talk about, you know, that life is worth living and there's so many positives in that. But people will go, I couldn't be like Siobhan. So what is there anything we could take, I suppose, generally speaking, either others who have the same conditions as you, or those who, you know, maybe just go around feeling sorry for themselves for no great reason? And I don't mean to be critical. I've done that myself, right? But, you know, how do you retain your positivity? Is it just living your life and the positivities are there?
And I think it's unrealistic to say that I live in a positive bubble because there is out in the public domain, very much so in recent times, about this toxic positivity. I'm very much a realist in life. I acknowledge the not so good, but I don't unpack there. And I think that's very important. You mentioned earlier, people can't say, well, I can't be like you, Siobhan. Well, why not? Why not? Like, it's about your mindset
Mm-hmm.
and it's about a can do attitude.
Mm.
There's a heap of things I can't do. And if I was to name them here, we'd be here until tomorrow.
Mm.
There's a load of things I can't do, but I've chosen to talk about the stuff that I can do. And it's a habit. It's a habit forming thing. It's not something that I just woke up tomorrow morning or yesterday morning and just said, "Do you know what now? I'm going to see the positive side to life." It's something that I built up over a period of time, and that is using the resources I have, which is my support network. If I can avail of coaching, if I can avail of talk therapy, if I surrounding myself with positive people that want to see me thrive in life and want to celebrate me instead of focusing on, well, Siobhan, you're only 4 foot, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm around people that celebrate me
Yeah.
and triumph in me instead of put me down.
Yeah, because we so often define people, don't we, by, you know, how they look,
Mm.
you know, an illness they might have or whatever. But, you know, and then that stops us seeing the person.
Absolutely. And I think, and I can only speak from a woman's perspective, I do think in today's society, there is so much pressure on women, especially in the Instagrammable world. We've all to be perfect. We've all to have the perfect shaped bodies. And I'm kind of out there with like a disfigurement per se. And I know people don't like the word disfigurement because, oh, they're like, they shy away from it. But I stand in my power. I have a disfigurement, but that's not who I am as an individual. On the inside is more important. So I want people to kind of, I'm an Instagram girl. I'm on Instagram, of course I am. But I want people to see inside of somebody, not just
Of
their
course,
outer
because
shell.
you know you made a very a toxic positivity. It's not something I've really dug too deep into because I'm always in negative areas of social media. No, but you know, and this sort of this fallacy really that you know of beauty, because even the most beautiful people probably take the picture, look at it and go, oh my God, I look terrible, my belly sticks out, my bum isn't big enough, or whatever it might be. I'm kind of glad that I'm of an age now whereas I don't feel the pressure from that. My word, if you were like, if I was 25 now, as the actual 25-year-old I was, it would be tough. I mean, I'd hope I'd cope, Siobhan, but my word, it would be tough.
And that is very true, like, because growing up when I grew up, it wasn't a thing. Like the internet wasn't a thing, and it wasn't like posting the perfect photo. And I do think nowadays it's so hard to grow up, and this is why it's so much more important to have people like myself, I'll speak for myself, out there in the public domain who is full of imperfections but is proud of their imperfections and wants to shine light on those imperfections instead of hiding and
Yeah,
shying
well,
away from
there's
them.
an honesty there because we all have our imperfections, and you know, My word, if everyone's life was like what they posted on social media, everyone would be just living the absolute dream. We just put out the best of us, don't we? And sometimes I think that can actually amplify what you're struggling with yourself, be it something mental, something physical, a relationship. You know, I think you when you try and conform to this what is perfect, there's nothing perfect. And what makes us special, I think, is our imperfections.
I think that comes with maturity as well. Like I'm 38 now, so I don't look at Instagram and be like, oh my goodness, I wish my life was like theirs.
That's why I'm so glad I'm the age I am, because I'm the same. Sorry, continue there, Siobhan.
Yeah, so I kind of look at it more from a perspective, oh my goodness, kind of like there must be something going on in that person's life that like it's not realistic to everything go right in your life all day, every day. That's not realistic.
Yeah.
As I said, everyone has ups and downs.
But me and you, I think, are going to be the same here. We'll still take 4 or 5 pictures before we post the selfie on Instagram, right? We'll admit to that, yeah.
Absolutely. I'm a queen. I'm a queen of a selfie. Don't ever get it wrong. I'm queen of a selfie, and we all want to look our best. At the end of the day, nobody wants to go around wearing a bin bag. We all want to accentuate our nice parts.
All right. Can people find out more about the work that you've done, what you've written, and your advocacy work, Siobhan? I'm sure many listening would be interested to learn a bit more about you. Is there a go-to spot? You said you're on Instagram, for an example.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and my handle is Siobhan Mungovan Official, and I have a website, so that's www.keepsmilingalways.ie.
What a wonderful message. It is a message. And what I'm not just saying that sort of a platitude. I'm trying my hardest in life to sort of, live that way as well too. So I'm not just saying that because it's you. Siobhan, thanks for your time. Great to chat to you. Bye-bye. Take care of yourself. Siobhan Mungovan, author and advocate for spina bifida and renal failure. And she also has front and back scoliosis as well. And a wonderful person. Right, what else have we got coming up on the show? Well, we do have Chris Ashmore coming in with business news, and we'll preview the Highland Radio's Business Matters podcast. I've got a pile of comments here to get through. I'm so appreciative. And I think we do well in getting your comment read out. Sometimes it might take a day or two because the show's so blooming busy. They're not screened for how, they're not screened, go, I'll use that one, I don't use that one. I get through pretty much all of them, okay? But we're so lucky here on this show to have a really, really busy show. So much interaction with you, our wonderful family out there. Right, let me take a break and I'll come back with whatever Caroline tells me to after these.
Euronics is celebrating 20 years in Ireland with amazing offers across all departments. Buy a gas cooker or hob and get free gas. Get big savings on washing machines, fridge freezers, TVs, laptops and more. Visit Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road Letterkenny or the shopping centre Dunlow.
At iMotors, it's not just about cars, it's about great experiences. Just ask Michelle.
I recently purchased a car with Gavin at iMotors. Very professional, happy to help, and the trade-in was seamless.
If it worked for Michelle, it can work for you too. Browse trusted used cars now at imotors.ie or visit their showroom today in Letterkenny or Malin.
iMotors, fearless generation.
Who's watching your home while you're asleep, at work or on holiday? With the Sheridan Security Alarm System, you can be assured of round-the-clock monitoring. Our central monitoring station is on duty 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, monitoring homes and businesses in the northwest for intruder, fire, panic and medical signals, giving you the peace of mind you deserve. Sheridan Security Systems, Bonagee, Letterkenny, protecting what you value most. Call us for a free quotation on 9126 6025.
Meet Dave. He's here to tell you why you should switch to OutSurance and save on your car insurance.
Hi, I'm Dave from Dublin. I made the switch to OutSurance and saved €178. I'm also on the way to getting 10% cash back with our Out bonus.
Like the sound of that? For a competitive car insurance quote like Dave's, call 1800 600 400 or visit outsurance.ie. Real people, unreal savings. OutSurance. You always get something out. Based on a like-for-like policy comparison, the customer received a gratuity for their participation. Outbound is calculated less taxes and levies. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Car and home insurance is underwritten by Outsurance DAC. Outsurance DAC, trading as Outsurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Welcome to Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms in Donegal Town. Discover affordable luxury with our bespoke fitted furniture solutions. With almost 30 years of serving Ireland and the Northwest, we're your trusted experts. Visit us Monday to Friday 9am until 5pm and on Saturdays from 9am until 3:30pm. Book your free consultation today on 074 9725822 or visit cherrymore.ie. Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, where affordability and luxury combine.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is
11:24. Dean Kenny is Northwest Regional Organiser for Young Fine Gael and Director of Agriculture and Rural Affairs, and joins us now. Dean, how are you?
Hi Greg, how are you? Thanks so much for having me on.
No, it's good to have you on the show. Right, the Young Fine Gael branch of the party is concerned about the cost of living in Ireland. It's just so blooming expensive compared to other EU countries. What are your more detailed concerns there?
Yeah, absolutely. So this comes off the back of a recent report from Eurostat, which kind of confirmed what a lot of people would already think about everyday life, is that Ireland is now the second most expensive country in the EU, behind only Denmark. And more specifically, it's the most expensive for alcohol and tobacco in Europe. So we really are making a call to government this week and to the senior party to act on this and to improve things, to do a number of things which we can get into in a little while. But really, I think it's having a real impact on young people in terms of going out and socialising, having a few pints, going out for a meal during the week or at the weekend. Anyone will tell you, to be honest, the dogs in the street will tell you that it's become prohibitively far too expensive to go out at the same level that you might have maybe 5 or 10 years ago. As I said, we have really high costs in Europe. For example, the cost of a pint in Ireland is more than double the EU average, is at 205% of the EU average. And a real problem there is around 1/3 of that is going directly to the state in taxes.
But in this day and age, though, no government's going to start cutting tax on carcinogenic product like alcohol, are they? Don't get me wrong, I enjoy a pint. I'd love to see it down €3 a pint. I'll just say, in this day and age, we're not going to see a reduction in the tax takes on the likes of booze. They're already losing out on the tax take from cigarettes as people move away from smoking legal cigarettes at the very least.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and that's not what this is about. We completely recognise the real dangers of alcohol, that it's not a normal product. It shouldn't be marketed as a normal product. But also, it has been increased in recent years. I mean, that 9% VAT rate is something that the hospitality sector and pubs and businesses right across the country have been calling for to return to in budget 2025. It wasn't done. It was committed to. It was looked at. We're calling for them to do it this year, for it to be looked at properly. And you look at pubs and small businesses right across the country. For example, I'm from Mayo. I was just looking at some stats recently. Across Mayo, the recent statistics I could find, since 2005, 135 pubs have closed. Across Donegal, it's 122. On average, 150 pubs are closing every year. I mean, these are the hearts of communities, of rural villages like the one that I'm from. So it's about more than alcohol. And obviously, we know it causes dangers and it causes risks to people's health. But this is about communities, about businesses, about getting out and socialising.
I just
mental
wonder,
health
though,
as well, Greg.
if certain elements of the hospitality industry have been their own worst enemies. The gouging in the likes of Dublin, etc. Cancelling people's booked rooms ahead of a concert and then reselling them for triple the money. And then now they're talking about a hospitality tax in Dublin. And I just wonder if we in the West and more, even our businesses, even like the 9% VAT rate, right? How could you give that to businesses that were screwing people over? That wasn't happening in Mayo, not happening in Donegal. But I just wonder if the parts of the industry are the biggest enemies of some of the industry in this country.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to disagree with any of the points you made there, Greg. But I mean, the reduction back to a 9% VAT rate would create a more level playing field, certainly for those in the West and those in rural areas that are really feeling the pinch. In another aspect of what we're calling for, we have consistently called for minimum unit pricing to not happen. We're calling for it to be reversed. Minimum unit pricing is It's been described by the chief economist with the Institute of International and European Affairs as one of the dumbest policies he can ever remember, because it simply increases profits for retailers. It doesn't raise anything for the state. So on that basis, we're opposing that. Like, that is impacting
Can I
on
factor in
the
a border county into that as well? Because you look at the businesses in Donegal trying to compete when other businesses very close to them do not have to adhere to this.
Yeah, I'm not going to try and comment on that because I can't. I'm from Mayo.
No,
but
I'm
I
just
assume...
saying it. I'm not expecting you to. Sorry, Dean. I'm just saying it's another layer. It's a, it only adds to your point. I'm not asking you to address that specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can tell you, right across, even Mayo is a far distance from the border, but that definitely happens. It's driving people to other measures. And I mean, like, the point is, people are going to drink regardless. People are going to try and socialise. Our alcohol consumption has come down in recent years, and possibly minimum unit pricing has had a lot to do with it. Maybe it hasn't. I know people are really more into fitness lately and other hobbies, so maybe that can be more attributable to it. Aside from the minimum unit pricing, another thing we're calling for, which is only going to aid in revitalising our nighttime economy, is something we've called for consistently over the last 10 years, even longer. And also the government has committed to doing is revitalising and improving our, what I would call, archaic licensing laws. At the moment, I mean, Ireland, we still have that 3 a.m. closing time for pubs and nightclubs. Whenever we talk about extending it, a lot of people kind of react a bit, get a bit lose the run of themselves, I might say, and think that, it's ridiculous and it's too late. But it's to give that option for pubs and businesses.
Right.
You go across on your holidays to Spain and Portugal, and you see that these pubs and businesses have that option, and it would really increase and improve our economy and make Ireland more attractable to young people.
I didn't know young Fine Gael were such party animals.
You'd be surprised, Craig. I mean, like, these, we're not all just policy swats or anything like that.
No,
we try to listen to our peers as well.
Hey, listen, it's important. Your voice is heard, and where you want to be, where we're at, and maybe the where we end up is somewhere in the middle. Who's to say? Listen, thanks for sharing your views with us. Take care of yourself. That's Dean Kenny, Northwest Regional Organiser for Young Fine Gael.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
This July 18th and 19th, Gidor comes alive with Salt Music Festival 2025. On Saturday 19th, experience The Stunning, the Sharon Shannon Big Band with Garen Noon, the Luke Combs Experience and many more. For more information and tickets, go to saltfela.ie. Salt Music Festival 2025. 2 days, one place, great music.
Rossview Interiors in Letterkenny are delighted to offer a limited quantity of sofas just in at unbelievable knockdown prices, with suites reduced from €2,050 to €1,250 and corner suites from just €1,350. There's also storage beds down from €650 to €450 and huge savings on a selected range of dining sets. So make your way to Rossview Interiors, Rossview Business Park, Letterkenny, just off the Polestar roundabout, as these bargains won't last.
Luxury is not merely seen or heard or even touched. True luxury is experienced. It lies in the minute details that elevate the ordinary into the extraordinary. It's quiet spoken, but leaves a lasting impression. You know it when you feel it. Luxury begins with L. Lexus. Experience amazing. Discover the all-electrified range at Lexus Letterkenny.
Since I switched to Hidden Hearing, I can hear it all.
You could save up to €3,000 off invisible hearing aids. Save when you switch to us, upgrade, or save on your very first hearing aids. Pre-phone 1-800-370-000. Switch and save at hiddenhearing.ie. You should go to the hearing experts. T's and C's apply.
For the biggest names in perfumes and aftershaves, visit McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Dior, Armani and Hugo Boss, Victor and Rolf, Marc Jacobs and Lancôme. Also Gucci, Yves Saint Laurent, Prada and many more. From timeless classics to celebrity favourites, there's a perfume or aftershave for everyone at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny and online at mcgees.ie.
At Franklin's, we understand getting the right property valuation matters. If you're selling your home in Donegal, trust the experts who truly know the market. Whether you're upsizing, downsizing, we're here to help every step of the way. At Franklin's, we do things differently. Honest advice, expert guidance, and a name you can trust. Book your valuation today at franklins.ie or call our office on 07491 88 Franklin's, putting the value in valuations.
Okay, Chris Ashmore put last. Chris, no, it's fine. I won't go down that route. No, what? Hi, good morning to you, Chris. How are you getting on?
Good
Chris
morning,
Ashmore?
Greg.
Did you enjoy the rally?
I did enjoy the rally. Everything, I think it was right
Seemed
up
to be
there.
really
One of the best.
successful,
Yeah, a lot of the logistical side of things worked out very, very well, and yeah, great rally, great event.
All right, and like all of us, we wear multiple hats in this industry, don't we, Chris? And we're going to talk a bit of business now. And talk to me about the latest On Post e-commerce index. What's it look at? What's it telling us?
Yeah, now this is basically looking at how much people are selling online, and of course we've all noticed the rise in parcels and deliveries, and they've been looking at I suppose you could call it sustainable shopping habits. We hear about the circular economy. People are selling things on, and there's quite a shift in what's going on here. It generally tends to be younger people, but they've done a survey and finding out that there's an increase in the number of people who are selling on goods, including the likes of pre-loved toys. 1 in 3 people between 35 and 44 has used a parcel service to sell on a pre-loved toy in the last 6 months.
Are we using eBay as much? Because I noticed they cut their seller fees, and that normally indicates they're struggling a bit. I presume there are
more
other
competition. Yeah,
there
exactly.
are other apps that are available now to do that. Yeah.
So this is it. There's so many things, and you go on television, and there's a new thing. There is Vint, and there's various things.
Facebook Marketplace is massive as well too. I know that probably is not captured in these surveys, but a lot of people just either giving away or selling on reasonably cheap stuff on that platform. So that's all part of what we're talking about, isn't it?
Absolutely. Now, the top pre-loved items that have been sold in the past 12 months, clothing 47%, furniture 31%, household items, well, that's a fairly vague term, 30%, electronics 19%, children's toys, and then with things, everything from books, old GAA programs, everything. Again, a lot of those would have been on eBay, but now changing habits, trends.
eBay, I was scammed. Well, attempted to scam a couple of times, and no shade on eBay. They probably do great stuff. It had put me off. It put me off only for the sort of the protections of PayPal. I would have been out significantly. That would be a concern of mine. That being said, Facebook Market, I've bought stuff off that. Not been so successful in selling, but still, I can see exactly why people are more open to it now. Right. Council have money up for grabs, do they?
Yes. Now, the council were involved in setting up the Northwest Energy Agency, and in order to encourage people to look at retrofitting their home or availing of solar grants, they are now offering a €250 discount for the cost of it's called a BER. It's an assessment. You have to get somebody out to look at your home to see how energy efficient it is. They take measurements, and you need to have this when you are applying for certain grants from the Sustainable Energy Ireland body.
Did the installation on mine, although some people said I shouldn't, but I did, and it didn't change my energy rating at all, which was quite depressing.
Oh poor you.
Exact same.
So basically the way this works is the council have set up a system. There's a QR code there. You can contact the council, and it's under the Northwest Energy Agency, and there's this discount for the BER, and also it'll help you look at what options are available there for you.
So you find out where you're at and where potentially you could go.
And I know my own Facebook feed, excuse me, there seems to be so many companies involved in the whole solar panel sector at the moment. And a lot of local jobs. It's a growing area, and certainly look, if no harm in having a look at this, because particularly if your house is an older house, some of the older houses are not that energy efficient.
Indeed. And energy efficient grants for business too, because many of the businesses aren't as efficient as they potentially could be.
Yes, there is a grant. The maximum amount is €10,000. This is, if you go through localenterprise.ie, you'll find out more information about this. It's a green grant there. Again, it helps out with your audit, and it can open the doorways to many other grants as well. So look, if you're in business, certainly worth checking out. It's called the Energy Efficiency Grant. And essentially it's to encourage people to make their businesses greener and energy efficient, which means consuming less power.
And there's some info for those who wish to start their own business coming up, Chris.
Yes, a one-day boot camp taking place on Friday, the 4th of July, and it's a start your own business one-day boot camp. Costs €50, but it gives you a great snapshot of the sort of information that you need if you are interested in starting your own business. And again, just contact your local enterprise office on that one.
Right, let's get on to the podcast, which is available for you today to download or stream off our website in the listen back on demand section, effectively. But it'll also be broadcast at the weekend. We'll tell you more about that. 2 guests this week. You flagged City of Derry Airport last week, and you have a very pertinent guest to that topic on the show this.
Yes, following up from last week, there were figures out showing an increase in the traffic passenger numbers through City of Derry Airport. So I've been speaking with Steve Fraser, who is the Managing Director of City of Derry Airport, and numerous topics we went through, including the fact it's still around 40% of those using the airport are either going to or coming from Donegal. So that's very significant. There's a further commitment to the Derry to London Heathrow service, which is a subsidised service guaranteed for a number of years ahead. And also we spoke about plans to have a new City of Derry to Dublin service by October of next year, and we can hear more about that in this clip.
The government's target is no later than October 26. Of course, from an airport point of view, we'd like to accelerate that as best we can. I think we have to respect the different hoops that they may have to jump through, and the regulations they'll have to make sure they comply with EU regulations on things like state aid. It's an odd PSO because technically City of Derry sits outside the EU, so they just need to get those permissions. They'll need to write a procurement process. We'll have to give the winning bidder time to be able to get aircraft and resources and people into position. But yeah, very confident, as you say, the second half of 26 will definitely be delivering a Derry to Dublin route.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting development, Chris.
Absolutely. Now, the service was there before. It only had about 12,000 passengers the years that it operated. It did struggle a bit, but he's hopeful they could add up to 80,000 passengers every year, and it certainly would be great for access to the Northwest, be it leisure, business. It would certainly be a huge boost to the region.
Definitely. Yeah. Right, your second guest this week.
Yes, I've been speaking with Letterkenny woman Sally Murphy, who is the new president of the Donegal Women in Business Network. Now, she is a communications consultant, and actually in this clip, which I thought was well worth pulling out, she speaks about how she was attending a wedding here in Donegal. She made a speech at the wedding that impressed one of the guests so much that it led to the opening up of all sorts of doors for her own business.
I had a really lucky break in, I think, around, must have been 2018. It was around the same time as I moved from Murphy Communications to Well Told, and there's a great story. I was at a wedding in the Shandon Hotel, and the bride asked me at the last minute to make a speech on her behalf. And I did, and I stood up and I made a speech. I wasn't a bridesmaid, but I was an old friend, and I made a speech and celebrated her. And when I sat back down at the table, a woman who was sitting beside me leaned across and she said, "Did you really not have time to prepare that speech?" And I said, "No, I didn't." And she said, "God, I could really do with someone with your communication skills on my team." But it turned out she was the head of customer experience for Google, EMEA. So 2 weeks later, I found myself in London working with her team, and that opened doors for me in a way that nothing else could have. So that was a sliding doors moment in my career, and from there, it gave me a level of, I suppose, credibility and connection. And I've worked with the United Nations, Johnson & Johnson, Thermo Fisher Scientific, the National Museum of Ireland, like really, really impressive organisations. And I really credit it to that moment in the Shandon Hotel in Donegal.
Well, that's great for Sally, Chris, but when is someone going to listen to me speak and go,
You never know. There could be somebody
I don't
today.
do this scripted, by the way, just in case. I have no scripts. You know, 99% of this is done off the top.
No, Caroline's just taking a call now.
But, you know, I'll tell you what it's about. It's you have to, you know, when opportunities do present them, you have to take them and then maximise them. And I think that's exactly what she's done. And, you know, obviously someone, there's a credit to the person who spotted the talent that was there.
Indeed.
Because that's critical too. You need good people in the right positions to say, there's a talented person. Brilliant. Lots more from both guests, Sally and Steve, on the podcast, which is available for you right now, Chris, and then broadcast on Sunday, of course.
That's right, on Sunday after the 6 o'clock news. And if you want to contact the programme, the best way is by email. So it's businessmatters@highlandradio.com.
Thanks so much, Chris. We'll see you next week. Do appreciate your time. It's great to get a bit of news as well as flagging the pod. Have a great week.
Thank you.
It's extremely big. It's extremely scary. And it's extremely good fun. Extreme Fun Fair, the most extreme fun fair to ever visit Letterkenny. From June the 28th to July the 13th at the Kiltoy Roundabout. See Facebook, Instagram, or book now at extremefunfair.ie.
Big summer sale at Evolve Clothing Letterkenny Retail Park. Hundreds of suits from only €50 and a turn of shirts at half price. Open 7 days. Shop in store or online at evolveclothing.com. When it's gone, it's gone.
At Maple Milford, we make everyday shopping simple with fresh meat, dairy, fruit and veg and all the essentials for your summer barbecues, picnics and everything in between. At Maple Milford, we've got you covered. And if you're planning to host, you'll find a fantastic selection of refreshing beverages and treats to keep the good times flowing. With great weekly deals and easy parking right outside, popping in is quick, convenient and always worth it. Come and see what's in store. Maple Milford, fresh, convenient, local.
Attention Donegal, Derry and Tyrone. PD Bathrooms and Tiles are proud to unveil our newest and most stunning showroom in Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana. Located right opposite the Northwest Golf Course, we offer unbeatable quality and incredible value. For 30 years, we've been the experts in total refits, stocking and serving as the sole agent for many top brands. Visit us today and transform your space with the finest bathroom and tile solutions. Telephone 93 95 884. PD Bathrooms and Tiles, where excellence meets value. Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana, F93H10F.
With MasterCard Priceless Experiences, the possibilities are endless. You could be front row, screaming every lyric, discovering new destinations, or a land of mouth-watering flavours. Register at priceless.com to unlock a world of priceless experiences. One place, endless possibilities. Priceless.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenny's. Explore more in-store or shop online at McElhennys.com today.
So mostly cloudy with patchy light rain or drizzle. Rain will develop late this afternoon. Highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees. Now, Mary Minahan is chair of the judging panel and the Irish Times features editor and joins me on the programme now. Good morning to you. How are you keeping?
I'm good, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, you have the tough task of finding Ireland's Greenest Places 2025. It's a nationwide initiative by the Irish Times and Electric Ireland. And, you know, we've got no end of places up here, but you want to hear about them, I presume, Mary?
We do indeed, Greg. And, yes, it's going to be a tough task, but also an enjoyable one. And I think with so much bad news going on in the world, I'm delighted that you've asked me on to talk about this, Greg. So thank you very much. So, as you say, the Ireland's Greenest Places competition 2025 is being run by the Irish Times in association with Electric Ireland. And we're just asking people to nominate their local places, their local projects. Don't be worrying that they might be too small. Just submit. And if you're not in, you can't win. And just places that people think deserve to be acknowledged and to be praised. So it's it's a nationwide competition, and I should say it's an all-island competition. Yes, we'd love to hear entries from Donegal, also from my native Derry there. We'd love to hear people from there as well. And we have a big pile of entries here already. I've just been filtering through them. I see Rossnoila Farmers Market have got in early with their entry, so very much appreciate that. So as I say, what we're going to do is people can go online to make it easy as possible. I think people should just go to Google and type in Ireland's Greenest Places. It should take you to an article on the Irish Times website. And then there's a very simple online form, and we'll choose. We have different categories. We have Ireland's greenest suburb, Ireland's greenest village, Ireland's greenest town, Ireland's greenest community. And then out of that, we'll pick an overall winner.
So what are the criteria you're looking for then? Because, I mean, is there a crossover with tidy towns, for an example, because they might be full of trees and plants and all that type of stuff? Or is it to do with sort of environmental issues? I know you won't want to be too prescriptive because you don't want to discourage anyone either, but
No,
just give us more of a
that's the thing.
sense of the
Of what we're
types of...
looking for.
Exactly,
Yeah.
please, Mary, yeah.
Surely, yeah. So I think if you look right across Ireland now, there is a real growing and welcome trend for sustainability and action. Say, for example, just to give you an example, you have lots of beautiful beaches in Donegal. There are great groups of people, kids and so on, going out and doing beach cleans that they might think about entering. So it can range right across from all sorts of things, Greg. And you mentioned the tidy towns, and I'd say there probably would be a bit of overlap, certainly in terms of the people who are involved, because they're the people who care about their environment, aren't they? So it's only natural they would probably be involved in tidy towns, and also.
So if I had a project, say, for instance, where I was trying to sort of, maintain and encourage the bee population, for an example.
Perfect example.
Okay, good
exactly,
stuff.
Greg.
I'm on board now. Well, I don't have bees, but...
Good for you. It could be, bog and habitat restoration. It could be rewilding. You see a lot of rewilding around and about now, don't you? It could be people who are planting native trees and, it doesn't, as I say, it doesn't need to be a huge commercial project. It can be very, very small scale. Like no project is too small to enter this. So a lot of people are doing things like helping to restore dunes. That would be another thing you might see around Donegal, because obviously there's evidence, unfortunately, of coastal erosion. You might see farmers working together to enhance river catchment areas, and just people who are, making an effort to record and keep hold of Ireland's really remarkable biodiversity.
Yeah.
So, we're not looking to sort of, greenwash things. We're looking for pretty small scale, medium sized projects that people around the country just think deserve a wee bit of recognition. So we've kept it very broad with our title. We're talking about Ireland's Greenest Places. So as I say, it can be a suburb, a village, a town, a community, any kind of project at all. So we've kept it really, deliberately broad. And just in terms of criteria, as you've asked, so we're looking at, a beneficial environmental impact. That's a key thing. And then we'd want to see evidence that there's ongoing engagement with communities. And, then if we can see evidence that people's behaviours have changed, that would, so I would ask people to keep all that in mind when they're making their nominations. And that would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, and time and resources going into this too. It's not just a Dublin-based desktop exercise. You're taking your time and visiting the front runners, and put a lot of effort into choosing the categories. So, in fairness, this is, as I say, time and resources going into this.
Yes. I mean, it's a project we're really looking forward to over the summer. And I can tell you a wee bit about my other judges. I have Eamon Ryan on board, who you will remember as the former Minister for the Environment and the ex-leader of the Green Party. So, he's a man who knows a thing or two about the environment, and also the Irish Times environment editor, Kevin O'Sullivan, who's steeped in all this kind of thing. Rosita Boland, our features writer, who's been a senior features writer, and Rosita has been a kind of veteran of these competitions we've run over the years, best shops, best place to holiday, and so on. So she's very experienced, and we have a representative from Electric Ireland and myself. I'm on the panel as well. So yes, it's definitely not a Dublin-based exercise. We're delighted so far that we've got entries coming in from all over the country, and I'm here today to say I'd really encourage, from Donegal and from the neighbouring counties. I know people are doing great work. It often goes unacknowledged. It's such an important issue of our time, and we'd really love people to just go online, fill out a very, very simple form. All you need to tell us is, the name of the greenest place. Just submit about 300 words about why you think it should win, and maybe get the kids to help you. That's what I would often do in a thing like this. And then we'd be looking for the type of place. It's a simple drop-down menu. You can select from greenest village, greenest suburb, greenest community, greenest town, as I said, those categories. Then just tell us your county, your name, your email, and your phone number, just for verification purposes. That's all we need.
And there's a lot
also,
of...
Greg, I should say...
Yes, Mary, go ahead. You should say what, sorry?
I was just going to say there's an opportunity if you want to. You can bolster your application, if you like, by putting in a photo or a video, perhaps, of what you do. But really the key thing is just your short and sweet 300 words. Here's why you think your project should be nominated for Ireland's greenest place.
For sure. And I think you're right, Mary, to recognise these people, because an awful lot of people talk about it. A lot of people talk about what we should be doing. A lot of people talking about there's no point in doing that. But the people we don't often hear from are the middle in between all of that are busying, getting on with it in their own communities, their own towns, and they don't hear the noise. They just get on for the benefit of their area, and they're factoring in, the climate and nature. Mary, listen, thank you so very much for all of your time. Have a lovely day. Take care. That's Mary Minahan there, chair of the judging panel and Irish Times features editor. So just Google Ireland's Greenest Places 2025. Read more up about it. Hopefully I've given you enough information to spark an interest if you think it suits you. But if you want more info, Google, as I've just mentioned, and you'll find out all the deets there. Caller says, why do a lot of cyclists not use the cycle lanes that are provided in the town? Well, you're not going to win the Tour de France on a cycle lane, are you? No, I'm only joking. I don't know, to be honest with you. Maybe they're not maintained well enough. Donna Marie Doherty, by the way, is coming up around the Northwest after 12 in case I forget to mention it and get a slap. A caller says, I fully agree with parents re St. Bernadette's. There's no way mainstream schools can match the type of care and outcome that's achieved in St. Bernadette's. Simple as that. Some of the responses there are a little bit longer, and I want to give them time. Morning, Greg. Thinking about the disaster of the A5 debacle, this happened because you have environmental extremists making and implementing crazy laws. As the saying goes, you reap what you sow. Yeah, there is that, but also there's the interpretation of those laws by planners. And then there is, if that interpretation isn't correct, there's the possibility to sort of exploit that to your own gains, to the objectors. So I've no doubt the environmental issue is part of this, but A, it wasn't factored in or implemented by the planners, and B, it was able then to be exploited by those that simply don't want this road to go away. I'd find it hard to sleep at night, personally, if I were objecting to this. Greg, I love Siobhan's attitude. God bless her. I myself live with an attitude of gratitude every day. Life is precious. It is, Mary. And the older we get, the more precious we generally speaking, I think, understand it is. Siobhan's positivity to life is very uplifting. Thank you, Siobhan, says another. In China, their students are sent to many countries for further education, but they must return and serve 6 years in their own country. It should be the same here. And, of course, getting a permit to work there is not easy, though they are relaxing some of those laws, it has to be said. Right, that's where we leave it on the show today. Thanks to Caroline Orr, as always, who researched and produced the programme.